Lights go dark, the stream comes on. Javon's here, the vibe is strong. Click and clack, the steel in sight. Every edge sharpened, Friday night.
Night flicks dance under the light. Blades that shine and cut so tight. Handles spin and edges glide. Friday night flicks worldwide.
The craft with steady flow. Steel and story you'll wanna know. Flick of the wrist, how smooth it goes. Every frame a master show.
Night flicks dance under the light. Blades that shine and cut so tight. Handles spin and edges glide. Friday night flicks worldwide. Karambit steel. Every flick has that cool appeal. The chat goes wild when he reveals a masterpiece you wish was real. Viewers locked in, they can't resist. The flick of steel's a weekly twist. Carving moments, he makes it slick. Javon streaming, doing the trick. Resist. The flick of steel's a weekly twist. Carving moments, he makes it slick. Javon streaming, doing the trick. Worldwide.
Friday night flicks is ready. Here we go. Watch me scramble to complete a 3-hour show. We'll talk about nights and what's on your mind. Never know what will come up this time. We vibe and we chill, including spirited debate. But we do it with love and never with hate. We'll talk about nights and what's on your mind. Never know what will come up this time. We vibe and we chill, including spirited debate. But we do it with love and never with hate. We vibe and we chill, including spirited debate. But we do it with love and never with hate.
Went out because we only had a little bit. But are you high on cigarettes? And when that stuff runs out, you're gonna wanna make it. Are you high on cigarettes?
Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Do you know that you're right or wrong? 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 He don't smoke 'em, but he loves it when you do. That's why he's high on cigarettes. And if you find him, you should light him up with you. He's getting high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. Let's watch Javon's witness and get high on cigarettes. that you're right or wrong? Do you know that you're right or wrong? Do you know that you're right or wrong? Do you know that you're right or wrong?
Harvey, want anything special for your birthday?
Just a decent cup of coffee.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Honey, your coffee's undrinkable.
It's pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee. You know, the girls down at the office make better coffee on their hot plates. Well, see you later.
And he didn't even kiss me goodbye. You know, if I could just make a decent cup of coffee, I could relax.
So, relax. Why don't you try Instant Folgers? Tastes good as fresh perked.
Good as fresh perked. I'll surprise Harvey for his birthday tonight.
Hey, great coffee.
It's Instant Folgers. Doesn't it taste good as fresh perked?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
What is up, people? Can y'all hear me? Hopefully you can. Sorry, I'm trying to start a little sooner than I did, but, you know, gravity happened and I fell asleep on the couch. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. It's Friday, and that's a good thing. I want to say hey to some people who are here or were here earlier. Hey, man, what's up, brother? And I'm going to make sure everybody... Ground Fog, what's up, brother? Marco Ye's in the house. Cliff Broad is in the house and a channel member. Good to see you, brother. Sunday at 4 o'clock, you guys got to stop by. Angelo's in the house. What is up, brother? If you guys knew how I struggled looking at this little laptop monitor, I've actually got 2 small laptop monitors. One that just shows me the stream, how it's running, and the other one, I have the chat on. And I've tried to make the chat big on this one over here, but I get distracted with it moving. So if I try to read it here, I can see the names, but I can rarely see what's under it till I make it big. And if I'm ever sharing a screen, I apologize, but I can't see shit in the chat. I'm looking at the screen, and that's why when I'm doing it solo, guys, I fly by the seat of my pants. What is up, brother? How is Terry? Good to see you, man. Crispy Critters in the house. What is up, Crispy? Good to see everybody. Yeah, it is Friday. That means I've made it through another 4 days of the experiment, which is Knives and More. It's just a blast where I get to hang out part-time and look at knives and watch a already very successful store decide how to grow. About like a couple of weeks ago, they put in it's about 12 feet of, if you think of up to your hip, jewelry cabinets. There are 3 cabinets that they were able to put together that give us 12 feet by maybe 3 feet. I'm trying to think. And it's a little island sits in that was some, not dead space, but kind of breaks up the traffic flow where there was a lot more traffic or not a lot more space between 2 cabinets. Now there's a center cabinet, which means we get to bring new knives into the store. And I've kind of been part of that process. And it's been fascinating for one. Looking at how knife stores make it in the year 2026, whatever we're in. And they do very well. I mean, Knives and More, a lot of it is because they've been in business for 20 years, you know, so that helps. But more than that, they sell only a few imported knives, getting ready to have some other, I'm not going to announce anything, but getting ready to have some other imported knives in there that I'm stoked about. But right now, currently, it's just Cobra Tech and Crate, which are out the fronts primarily. And some other stuff, Mech Force, or I think it's called Mech Force. Those $12, $14, I call them gas station knives. Paul Mills in the house. What's up, brother?
but it's been fascinating to be part of that process. And I've been able to take, like today, I took a collection down for the main guy who doesn't go to Blaze Show to look at. Kind of gave him a presentation of knives that I feel kind of passionately about from China. They will remain nameless, but if you guys watch my videos, you can probably tell from deductive logic. But hopefully those will come in. And then I'm working with but I'm trying to get another small manufacturer, USA manufacturer. David's in the house. David, you're a mod, brother. Good to see you. I met David today at Knives and More, which we were just talking about. And he saw those 3 cabinets. They were behind him when we were talking. And 2 of them were full. One of them had one little case display in it. But what I've learned is when you're in a store like that and you're thinking about, since you don't have a website, they don't have an online presence except their Instagram. And he's got a very successful Facebook group with like 3,500 subscribers that he sends knives to. So when he gets cases in, he'll post a picture and they usually sell out. Dude, it was awesome meeting you, David. Stop by anytime, dude. That's where I hang out in the afternoons, except for Wednesday. Neil McKenzie's in the house. What's up, brother? On Wednesday, I'm off, but on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday, I'm in there every afternoon from 2 to 6. But when you look at a store like that, I didn't understand the economics of how they look at their floor space, right? So I never thought about, I always thought, well, all you can do is you can bring in more knives. But what they have to think about is what they can display under the glass. And when they talk about their square footage, they're really talking about, to me, the way I translate it in my liberal arts brain is square inches. Because you're looking at how much room does a knife take up, and what knife, if you don't display this knife and you're displaying these knives, are they going to give your business a return that keeps up with what else you could be showing here? You know, it could be showing more of what's already successful: Benchmade, Microtech, ProTech, Spyderco. You know, I'm trying to get a boutique USA maker in there. And I can understand the challenge that they're faced with trying to make sense of that. They like the company that I'm trying to get in there as much as I do. They're just trying to work out the math, because it just varies from company to company. And there are things that I could probably figure out, but it's not something that comes to me naturally. And pro formas, business plans, things like that do come to me naturally. That's what I've always done, strategic market planning and shit like that. But the whole, take a retail store, I've never worked in retail before, so it's kind of wild. Yeah, 1 square inch. I hear you, brother. I hear you. So I'm gonna do my best when I'm talking just like I am now. It's easy for me to see the chat, and if I make it big, I can read the chat. And when somebody else is in here that I'm talking to, like Brother Kyle or anybody who's up on the stage, it's hard for me to watch the chat and watch that person, because even though it's virtual, I still try to watch that person. I don't know why. It's another one of my afflictions, right? But yeah, it's been cool. It's been a cool week at Knives and More. Had some very young, I say young, early 20s case fanatics, like 3 different pairings. I wouldn't call them groups. Pairings. They were usually from out of town, as far as Kentucky, the others closer, but they seem to be working up here, either farming or doing some kind of landscaping. You could tell they'd been at work, and they were saying that they'd been here for 11 days, in some cases 4 days. And they'd come in and they'd buy case knives. And that's one of them. 2 of them actually Hispanic guys that sound countryer than I do, or more country than I do. They have no Spanish accent, and they're just case fanatics. And it comes from their grandfather's love of case knives, and some case knives that they came into, possession of. And ever since have just been, they carry one every day in their pocket to work with, and then they'll buy some that they are just going to put in their safe, So it's weird to see that whole group. And then you'll have the people in there that are very particular about their knives. And they've got pretty interesting philosophy about only putting a couple of knives. Like if you've got, let's say you've got 5 carbon fiber. I'm going to get it out of my pocket so I can give you a visual. Let's say you got 5 carbon fiber or carbon steel cheetah cups. They won't put 5 boxes under the glass stacked up with a knife on it. They might put 2 boxes with a knife on it, the second one empty, right? Because there are people that'll come in there and look at every knife to see which one's the most centered and, just cull through them and never be satisfied, because there are people that are very much sticklers, which I'll always come back with, well, you're looking at the wrong brand. Case, good luck finding a case that's perfectly centered. It doesn't bother me. I've never been a person where centering bothers me. And in a slip joint, I've got Jack Wolfs, they're perfectly centered. And then I've got case knives. I've started collecting, I think I showed you guys in another live, those little small not trappers. Single blade trapper. This is what I've been collecting. I got 3 of those. What's up, Bunny X? And they're just, they're kind of cool. So what I'm doing is I'm learning about them from customers and from the literature that's available online, learning about patterns. Like this pattern came out in 2005. I know because I've done videos on it, and I'll research them when I do a video on it. But this came out in 2005 for a few years, and they brought it out because the cheetah full size had been a very popular knife. And then it went away, and now it's come back as part of their Vault series for 2026. I say that because this is a hype knife as far as case people are concerned. It's such a hype knife, and the way case people are concerned, I've seen them sell out without ever making it to those square inches that we talk about on the floor space. John takes a picture of them and he ships them all out that day. So I've picked up 2 of these, and they're lockbacks, which are something I'd never really had before besides my Buck 110, which I've got. But yeah, this is a cool little knife, and I don't expect it to be perfectly centered. I don't expect it to be sharp. I did learn from the young guy up there that the reason this was a joy, and it only took on my Work Sharp little field sharpener, it only took about 10 passes on the smooth stone. I don't use the side that's got the coarse diamond. I just use my little field sharp on my slip joints, and I gave it like 5 to 10 passes on each side, changed them each time, going whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then I used the strop. What's up, Kathleen? Happy Friday, young lady. Then I used the strop, or I used my ceramic, and then a strop, got the burr off, and it was ready to go. And I learned, I think I told you guys that, what's up, said Stevie? Me too, dude. I'm not taking anything. And like I was telling these guys, I've really become not an aficionado by any stretch of the imagination, because I'm not buying knives. I've traded for all these, but and I like my Great Eastern cutleries even more so than I like my cases. But yeah, I agree. I don't carry this every day to be my primary cutting tool. I carry it to, if I eat, fruit or something, I might use it. But I learned that their stainless steel is an ingot steel that has larger carbides in it. So that's why it's harder to sharpen, and you can get, issues with getting it sharp. Tate was saying because of the carbide that could be tearing out of it, depending on how you're trying to get it sharp. If you're trying on a not as coarse stone, it's fine, but I've noticed it's a pain in the ass. This was very easy to get sharp, the carbon steel. So I kind of like the carbon steels. I still say the best slip joint in the game right now is the American Blade Works, USA made slip joint, right around $150. Magna cut, hollow grind. In fairness to case, this didn't come screaming sharp. I had to sharpen this the same way on my field sharp. But this is a deep hollow grind of Magna cut, so it was a joy to get screaming ass sharp. Great knife. Said Steve, if you're around, buddy, since we're doing the pre-show, I'll be happy to shoot you a link, my friend, if you've got anything cool to show off. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Michael Martin and what he does for American knives. I love the Model 1. I'm a big fan of the Model 3 automatic. Now, I've noticed that my bigger buddies like A to Z EDC and the owner and Tate of Knives and More had a hard time getting it to fire because it's got such a nice where I think works great because the button's kind of recessed in the aluminum housing. And to me, it works perfectly. But if you've got a bigger, thicker finger, it can be harder to get it to fire. But I carry this more than my Model 1, and I like it better than all of my Protecs. And I've got quite a collection of Protec automatics. Not quite a collection. I've got several good representations. And this is just a winner. I just think he nailed it. Now, I'll tell you a knife that I tried that I'm really trying to get my hands on because I tried it at Blade Show is the new Three Rivers Manufacturing Pitbull. It's their interpretation of a automatic. When I went and picked it up, I was amazed at how much kick it had for a little thin knife. So it's got the same ergonomic characteristics and thin, what I consider to be kind of like a sunfish folder. Just a nice little thin, easy to cut shit with neutron, or it's probably more the size of an atom. I think it's more the size of a neutron. That's one thing I did not pay enough attention to. I need to go back and watch my video to see if it's more the size of I think it's probably made after the Bulldog being the last. This knife is, I think, what the Pitbull is more in ergonomic lines with than either a neutron or an atom. And this is, even though I'm not a huge fan of bar style locks, I will say that Three Rivers River Lock, as they call it, on my Shadow, and even more so on my Bulldogs, is a really fine lock. Scotty, he walks in because he heard me talking about Three Rivers Manufacturing. Scotty would know. Scotty has a Pitbull. Is it based off of the Bulldog? I'm assuming, since it's called that, because I handled one at Blade Show, Scotty, but I didn't pay attention to what its profile was born from. So Sobex does have a Pitbull. And I'll let the cat out of the bag. That's the boutique dealer I'm trying to get snuck in. That's the American part. I can't tell you the Chinese one because that's the deal's imminent. And I want to get that all taken care of. But in either case, Huntsville will be better for it. I'm kind of excited. But I really want Three Rivers to have a little bit of space because they don't have a huge line that you have to keep up with. See, perfect, Scotty. Thank you. Yeah. So for somebody like them, unlike the big Chinese manufacturer with it has a lot of SKUs or different models, Three Rivers has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 folders, including the Pitbull, I think if I count it right, and 2 fixed blades. So you don't have to merchandise a lot of different knives in terms of that square inch space under glass. You could have a little boutique area where you had a neutron, an atom. You wouldn't even need a shadow because they're hard to get anyway, but you could have a couple of, have knives behind the counter, but you could display 4 or 5 knives and have a very good representation of what you could get access to for a customer. So let's say they wanted a nerd and you didn't have a lot of nerds on the floor. You could say, well, yeah, if you're looking for a 5th pocket knife, we've got access to these. I can get it for you in like 10 days. You just got to buy it now. Because I've been amazed, even though we're a tech town, at what small percentage of the people that come in to Knives and More, and a lot of them are affluent engineer people, but what a small percentage are shopping Blade HQ or shopping Knife Center or shopping Amazon, for God's sake. They're coming in there and buying Benchmades. The truth is, you can get a Benchmade for lower, by all means. by all means. Puff, puff, pass, people. Puff, puff, pass. But I love, love, love TRM. And I don't know if that, because last year at Blade Show, I introduced the young guy who's part owner to Les and Marianne, and they met and had the little talk about how it all works. And TRM being a boutique manufacturer, they're not set up like a bigger corporation where they've got dealer margins necessarily built in. Now they've got several brick and mortar dealers, because what they have to someone like me, who's not a knife store guy, makes perfect sense, because I don't have to make as big of a commitment. I'm not going to take as much space. I'm offering a good product, and it's a very fair margin, where they look at things differently in the knife world. So this one's still going. I'm taking all of my TRMs in Monday morning, like I did that whole line of Chinese knives, and I'm going to do the same pitch that I did, because every one of these, with the exception of a couple, I bought during my early channel, long before I had a channel. It's Sobek Scooter's fault. He's the reason that I fell in love with TRM a long time ago. It was very organic. It was very natural. At the time, they had Emily and some of the other girls that they've kind of changed, I think, their market. Well, you can tell their branding's changed. So their marketing department's definitely changed. I don't know what layers of agency they're working with, but I know they've got a totally different group of client-facing people. And that's all good. I'm trying to get them to be a guest one Friday night to come on and just talk about what they do. It's Three Rivers Manufacturing. The old guy, for example, at Knives and More, goes online and he looks at the titanium ones and he thinks, well, that's not any kind of savings. Well, these are a totally different price in G10 or micarta. You're looking at a knife that's around $250, US made, small batch, super slicey, heat treats good, customer service is great. And then if you want it dressed up with full titanium, it's going to cost you, they're proud of their scales. What can I say? They're not as proud as Hinderer, but they're expensive. You're adding over $100. But that's not it. They look so much better wearing full tie, because these little nerd scales were over $100, and I was happy to save up and get them just because they look cool. This knife is a perfect small knife, and I wish they had a mid-size. The Bulldog might be similar to this.
What's up, Yub?
What's up, brother?
What are we doing?
We're just showing off TRMs. I don't know if you heard me reminiscing about my week at Knives and More. But I'm trying to put a couple of a couple of knife companies that I like in the running for knives they consider, because they're at an expansion point because of these 3 jewelry cabinets they bought and installed last week. So I
just got here. I haven't heard anything yet.
What's that?
So I just got here. I hadn't heard anything yet.
No, what I was going to say is, so they were wanting to bring in an imported brand. What's up, Sierra Rick? They wanted to bring in an imported brand, and they wanted to bring in a possibly a small American maker that they met with last year at Blade, that I've been working with them trying to get in, which is TRM. I let that cat out of the bag. So the TRM is not really set up to do what the bigger companies or what knife stores kind of expect. And they knew that when we met with them at Blade Show last year, that they knew that they were kind of off on that part of the equation. But like I told Tate, and today told the other guy, John, you're not taking a lot of space. It's not a bunch of SKUs you have to keep up with. They don't have any kind of requirement of you buy this much, you'll get an extra 5%. None of that shenanigans. It's just all good. And the other is an imported line that they wanted to be able to offer that kind of fit that $70 to $115 price point, where right now they just have Cobra Tech case, which that's a different buyer. And I had a bunch of knives down from different makers to let them look at them and kind of inspect them. Knives that I've got that I've collected.
Yeah.
And I lobbied for one company, and we'll see if it works out. I have no doubt that they'd be able to sell them. It's just a matter of, I don't understand, and John makes me aware of that, but I don't understand the dollars and cents of knife store. To me, it's just business 101. It's not that complicated. but maybe I'm not looking or I'm not considering things that I don't know, you know? That's very, very possible. Mick Ranger, what is up, brother? Kyle, I met David Gudis today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he came in the store. He's local. Or he would just came in to say hey, and I don't think he just came in to say hey.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. I got to give him a Blade Show hug. I don't know if he was at Blade Show, but I see such a small percentage of the people there.
David, were you disappointed?
I'm sure he was. Everybody is. And Dr. Druid, what's up? We got to talk for a little while before people came in. And it's funny because the two guys that own the place, if I'm there covering the floor, they'll just sit back and it looks like they're working, but I know that one guy's playing some game where you throw balls up at like brick walls. It's one of those computer games. I don't know what it is.
Okay, like a brick breaker or something like that.
Came Insider, thanks for the $2. I like your stringy hair, dude. I appreciate you. You know what happens? It has nothing to do with my stringy hair, but it's you could have clipped it because I went right for it. I just gobbled it up.
That's great.
That was great. I mean, hook, line, and sinker. I love it. Good to see you, Cayman. Hang around, my brother, sister. Thanks for the $2. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. Seeing that side of their decision-making process, watching the two of them kind of interface and try to make a decision. And to me, you know, if it doesn't work out, you just steer the ship a different way. There's nothing that's going to tie you to a relationship that doesn't work in either one of the agreements. You know what I'm saying? They're not closed-ended. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? So but the deal is, and I was impressed. The Asian company has you get X amount. You're from cost to, or I think they call it a discount from retail. I forget how the math goes, but anyway, you get a certain percentage margin if you just are approved to be a dealer and you buy, you know, whatever you buy. I don't think they have a minimum. But if you get to I want to say pretty sizable order, say what would be, for lack of better term, let's see, what's 100 times 50? Like if you got 50 knives, what's 100 times 50? 5,000?
100 times 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah. So if you got 100 knives, you'd have an additional, like say 10%. So it's you're incentivized to buy more, but there's no minimum. So, and big stores like that, or stores like Knives and More, because they can say, okay, if we allocate this much space and we can turn them at this rate, we should be in good shape. Then it's just a matter of Tate figuring out which models he wants to bring in, you know, because I wouldn't bring in everything because you really couldn't with any of the companies that I've at least thrown out there. And there are a couple that are, you know, because a lot of that stuff they can just buy through Blue Ridge, but that's a different equation altogether.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times they work with Blue Ridge because they don't maybe have the opportunity to work direct. I don't know that's the case or not.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to say hello to some people because I
Go ahead.
was late, and I'll let you take a breath because you hadn't stopped since I got here.
I need to, man.
What's up, David, Scooter, Sierra, Rick, Marco, Drizzy? Who else is here? Let's see. Scroll up. Mick, Mr. Mills, Kathleen. How are you, dear? I think I said Scooter already. There's Terry. Is Stovey here? I don't know. I thought I saw
Stevie was here.
Okay.
I'm going to send him a link. He didn't say he wanted it or not, but I'm going to just send one anyway. You keep talking. I didn't mean to come back in.
No, you're good, bud. I just was clearing up a few things. I'm trying to do some shit on the computer before I got on here, so just go ahead.
Have you been busy? Are you still taking pictures and doing your sharpening and your handiwork, your knife mod work?
Yeah, I haven't been doing the pictures nearly as much. I've kind of need to get back on that. I was having this conversation with Sharif about a week ago.
It's
When I
hard to
get
get.
when I get in a because I'm not a creative by nature, and when I get in a creative funk, like I just can't envision it, or I don't see it the way I want to see it, or I don't have the props to do it the way I want to do it, then I just don't. I just kind of shut down and just don't do anything at all. I need to get back into that process.
I 100% know that feeling. I call it creative constipation, and I live with it. And I push through and make sub average content just because I'm trying to keep the content fresh, but it's not my best. I can look at what videos that take more time to make that do a lot better and people enjoy more, but I'm just doing all I can do to keep my head above water with the unrealistic pace that I've kind of put on myself. It should be very realistic, but when you're shut down and you're not creative and you don't want to talk to yourself about a knife.
That's how I get with everything in life, though, man. Like if I don't like to half-ass anything. If I don't go full bore and do it all the way, then I'm not doing it, and that prevents me from doing a lot of stuff because I get that paralysis by analysis where I just overthink everything to the point of I just shut down, and I need to get on my horse and figure that out.
Well, you identify it, so that's a huge step in figuring it out. But that's just you're a perfectionist. I know that from the work that you turn out, and I know that from knowing you that you like, in the sports that you excel at. You have to be, on the not only tight wire, but crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So if you ever feel like you're not, you probably have unrealistic standards set on yourself, and if you can somehow come to grips with, all right, I'm going to do 80% because that's all I've got today, but that's 80% more than if I do nothing. Get some kind of weird formula in your head that you can, figure that out. You will, just if you're thinking about it. So that's a good step.
Yeah, I just I'm my own worst critic, and I'm very picky about, well, most things in life, but especially any work that I put out.
Well, I mean, your work shows for it. I mean, I think you're comfortable in what you're doing, and I think you can turn out work. I think your photography is unreal, dude. I mean, what you're able to do is as good as any I see. So I don't know how much setup time's in that. What's up, Bob Tism? Well, I know you've told me when you're doing it manual, it's quite a bit. So that's where your creativity and your lighting comes in.
Yeah. So like I'm no professional. I do okay for being self-taught with a little help from Patina and just messing around. But like, honestly, I literally have probably less than 1,000 clicks on my camera. That's how few pictures I've taken as far as like practice.
And look at the quality photos you're turning out.
So like setup time's not bad. That's usually, 15, 20 minutes, just getting everything laid out the way I want. And I'm trying to do multiple angles with that one setup, or potentially multiple knives with different backdrops.
Right.
And then the slow part is the cleaning process and making sure like all the dust specks are out, like
fingerprints are gone,
everything's clean completely. And then once I get the setup right, messing around with lighting, and I'll knock out 3 or 4 knives in a bunch of different angles in probably less than an hour. But then it's the editing process, and then that takes a while. Just trying to dial in your, white balance, getting everything set the way that you want it to look, whether you want to have any type of preset with filmic on it and then adjusting from there, and then doing your curves, and then spending tons of time doing dust control and going back in and like pixel peeping and taking out all the little small defects in a backdrop or whatever. That takes a while. I mean, it'll take me
much more time than shooting. And
it'll take me at least an hour per photo, and that's just being very, very quick with it.
Well, and do you feel like to put the photos out that you want to put out, that's a step you can't afford to skip? I'm not comparing you
Yeah,
goal at
yeah.
but I'm just
But
saying
that's also
doesn't have that.
overkill. That's
Well,
also overkill because no, it is because for what I'm doing, I've it's showing up on most people on their tablet or on their phone, so it's getting recompressed when it goes back into Instagram. So it's not, and you're not pixel peeping on Instagram, so it's not the same. But I still do the process like I'm doing it for real.
as you should, because every one of the clicks, every one of those 1,000 clicks could virtually be part of a portfolio if you ever want to dive deeper into it, right? I mean, I think it's great that you're doing it that way. If you don't notice the difference and you've practiced enough and you do that maybe not as on every shot, you might find it, but I don't think you'd ever find it pleasing since you like it the way you like it, the way you see it on your screen. You
I
wouldn't.
mean, Cole edits all his photos. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He spends countless amounts of time editing, and I remember.
But he's also got down kind of to a path for his thumbnails where he's got a very basic setup, which I've done some of those shots as well too, where it's just a piece of black acrylic, a black background, and
I love his.
You're using reflections, and that's simple. That's a very quick and easy setup to make it look very smooth transition.
Well, I noticed. I think he does a great job with his with that thumbnail. I noticed Mel Complex used it last year or last week on it was a knife. I thought it was Cole's, but it was a Metal Complex video. And I think that, and I've seen some shots that you do like that. I think that's just a classy shot. I think it's
it is. It's very basic. You can get away with a lot with that because your lighting doesn't have to be perfect. It helps, but the other part is you don't have to worry about staging on backdrops nearly as much. You don't have to worry about a lot of the small things in the editing process because you're taking all that out with the backdrop. So Bob, I appreciate that. Hello, by the way. And then I'm always willing to listen, but yeah, I've got some tricks that I've kind of learned, but I typically go with I'll go with an S curve and then make adjustments from there on, then I go in and actually do HSL, individual coloration changes.
I use Google. What's their thing called? Their free app?
Don't know. I don't use Google.
It's a Snapseed.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I used to use that on my phone, but now I've got the Adobe Suite. And
this is from Cole's Lives. All I do is I'll do the vignette setting, the blacked out perimeter, and I'll adjust my color to try to make it match my Hank. But that's the only post editing, and my pictures suck compared to people that can stage. Like I look at somebody like B Shady who can just set things up, or like this knife that was tagged because I have that same knife. That's a picture I wouldn't be able to take. And it looks simple to people. I could take that, but I don't have the artistic wherewithal to put anything than just symmetrical knives. I can't stage them like, let me go to B Shady.
Speaking of pictures, I swear, because I haven't posted anything on Instagram in forever, because I've been kind of out of that creative process. Hello, by the way, Gary. And I posted a picture this past week, and it literally has done like 0 traction. And I don't know if it's because I haven't posted anything in a while, or I'm just not getting any track or any confirmation. But it also said, I was looking at the insights on it or whatever, because I was just curious. 99.5% of the traffic was only from people who were following me.
Okay, let me tell you what you probably need to do. Is just go to your settings, and then you go to your account settings. I can show you right here. Can you see my screen? You go up here to your hold on a second. I'm in streaming. Let me go back over to Instagram.
I'm set up as an individual, not a business.
Me neither anymore, but you can still check to see if this might be. But like he does pictures like this, or the ones with the folded hanks, or like this, that to me look good. I love his photos. They're always purple. I I don't have the way, I just can't lay things out like that. My brain's just too basic. So my content suffers. I try to get better, but every time I try to dive into photography, that's why I use an iPhone for everything, because it just works for me. It's hack, and I get it. And I know that I'm going to get passed by if I don't up my game. So I on the Amazon Prime days, I dropped $40 on another tripod that I'm going to use for outside shots when I'm chopping stuff up. And I'm going to make myself go outside and chop stuff up. So who are we going to look at, Kyle?
I'm just going to say
you mentioned somebody just a second ago, and I was going back to
mine, my most recent post. You got 0 traction.
Oh yeah, let me go back and do that, and then we'll talk about. Let's go back. I want to hear what you do. So sometimes they'll throttle you by saying one of your posts. This one right here.
Yeah.
27 likes.
Yeah, I mean that's nothing.
And
like
what's
the
it
last.
Show you how many? Yeah, I mean, how many does it show you impressions? I forget.
Like 215 or something like that.
All right, so what I do is I go over to my account, which is down here, profile, and then where are my settings? Hold on a second. I always do it on my phone. Account settings is what I'm looking for. I don't want to switch account settings. Here we go. So when I go here, if I scroll down, or on your phone, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and it'll show you account status. And you want green checks. I've got all green checks. If I switch this to a professional account right now, I will get all red checks, and I'll have to delete 10 posts, and then the AI will just flag the next.
It was on settings and where?
All right, so settings all the way at the very bottom. It
Account
says
status?
Yes, account status, and then just
I'm green across.
Okay, then you're fine. Just, I found out, because I'm a YouTube shorts guy, and my shorts have been tanking recently, not getting nearly the traction. I know YouTube's just done something with the algorithm. So I've been doing it now for 3 years, gaming that system by just doing my 4 hashtags. And I'm sure I'll have some days, because I used to just do 9 shorts every day. And there would be 2 that I call them would never get in the stream of wherever people see videos, because it might get 100 views where the others are getting thousands. And they start off like in the first hour, the shorts will have 300 to 500 views. I know that short will do average. But I don't get the 100,000 shorts anymore like I used to. And I had one knife that was bringing it, and I've been doing some tests, that same knife, the same content, and it's not producing.
Well, actually go back to that. If you're close, if you're handy to that, go back to that photo that we just looked at.
This one here?
Of mine.
Oh, yeah. And there's an easier way to get back to you, but I have to do it this way.
So that's actually.
I love this stuff. I'm not giving a fuck. I've got that book. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that book's phenomenal. That's actually Paul Mills's knife.
Oh, that's his FSD. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What's that? What's the blue? Is that Damascus?
Yeah, it's an inlay.
That's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And that book is so good. I've got the audio book because I listened to the guy. I think it was Mark that narrates it.
Yeah, Bob, I do a bunch of different angles and stuff. For coming back here, let me, if I can find one.
You want to drive your stuff?
No, go ahead. Well, yeah, go back to where you were.
I mean, your pictures are great, dude.
That's not my picture. I was just tagged in that one. But like that one, I
know that's your picture.
That was a good one.
Knives are hard to take pictures of.
That's a funny one because that one actually is completely suspended in air. I had it hanging by a string by the pocket clip and then just photoshopped it out. But one of my favorites is that Zom that I took the close up on for 5-door and go up right there.
This one
next
right
to
here.
you. Yeah.
So is that minimal lighting to get that very subtle reflection and not have it just be overpowering?
No, that was 2 flashes and a couple different bounce cards.
See, that's already way above my ability.
And like the artsy one I did was up the couple ones down of the shaman there in the left, and that one didn't get a whole lot of love, but I thought that one turned out pretty cool.
You don't use a light box, do you?
No.
I got one not too long ago, and I haven't had much luck with it. The little light box that I can put a knife in and put a background on it. Like
light boxes are good for you just want a flat light. If you don't want to have shadows, you just want to have a flat light. They're good for that. But
well, let me show you terrible pictures. And these are also shared 2 Knives and More where I part-time work. This is one of their knives. And it's hard for me to get the brand. That's a small maker. Ed Martin, that's a little knife called his Hitchhiker. But a lot of these knives are really hard to photograph. This one I couldn't photograph because I couldn't get it on my tape.
So a knife called a Hitchhiker. I'm just a little curious.
I get it. And
what do you do with a knife called a Hitchhiker when
you're
hitchhiking?
It's about 6 inches long overall. I think he also does some specific, and this is going to sound bad, but he has some that are for skinning deer. I think the Hitchhiker, if you're a hitchhiker going across the country, it'd be a good knife to use not to shank people, but to eat beans, to just do your basic stuff across to
shank somebody and take their car.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the intention.
Right.
No,
well, as long as that's
a good, very valid question. And something that it's funny that you say that, but it's the reason that Tim Kell didn't name Jared Nee's first knife the name he wanted it named. And he had a good point. You don't want to give an aggressive name.
What was it, the Rapist?
No, it was the he wanted it to be the Felon.
Wow.
And it was the FSD instead. And it was a very tactical, last 6 inches type of knife. And he said, if you ever ended up in court, attorneys are going to be hating having to defend the name of the knife. It's little simple things like that can impact a jury.
Well,
I thought that was pretty profound and accurate thinking. But these are the pictures I take. They're flat. That's the new Microtech. If you read about it, it's a hunting and a field dressing knife. And to me, it looks like a kitchen knife. $280, 8 inches long, M390 MK.
It's boring as shit.
I agree.
The basic ass steel.
It's got a nice sharpening choil. That's about it. And it doesn't even have flush scales. So, and I think there's issues with this little knife. The ram lock is so much grittier in the 2 that I've experienced compared to the full size. And I know a lot of that's blade weight, but the mini stitch, a lot of these knives are all their knives. And this is a no editing video of a really cool knife called the Spyderco Autonomy. I thought it was a version of a PM2, but it's not.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's an LC200. Nice. I don't know why, but it's we've got 2 of those bad boys new.
How much are they?
They're I'll look Monday for you.
Spyderco is often pretty salty for their autos.
Well, I think that's their only one. And for some reason, Gary, I don't remember it being that bad. Kathleen. Now that's ridiculous right there, price wise. That single action Halo 4, I want to say it's 6 something.
Thanks, Bob.
But there's something to be said for a single action. And this is a young guy named Wilbur. We've looked at his work on Instagram. He makes these by hand in Alabama. That's about a $1,200 bally song with, I forget the Damascus on that one, but he's the one that made the big mace that we looked at that he had at the Rocket City Knife Show. The kid is talented, but he makes some weird stuff. The coolest thing he makes is called a polecat. That's the name of his company. And it started as a mistake. It's one bally handle with a little slicey copper Baker's Forge blade on it. It's just super shanky looking. but it's got titanium. What would you call it? A blade guard, so you can't slide up on the blade. This is one of Dustin Driver from Gunnersville, about 45 miles from me. One of his custom folders. He typically makes handmade fixed blades, but he also makes that with no CNC. You can even see his little screw cut in the lock bar. But he does a really good job. He's always at Blade Show.
So, latest. Well, actually, this isn't the latest. This is the second to the latest knife I got. This is a Spyderco
Dragonfly.
Meerkat.
Meerkat. Is that this flip joint?
That's their new one.
This is the new one. I have all the old ones too. I like these for whatever reason.
I love that. I wish they would make that like in their actual full line with a better steel, because I think that's a cool design.
Well, it's Spy 27. I mean, it's okay. It's all right to scale.
Oh, are they? I thought they were only doing that one in the budget ones.
This is this is a Meerkat in Spy 27. It's
Okay.
a little different. The old ones, the back there was just smooth steel, but these have like a jimped spacer in there, which is a little different from the old ones. But just a cool knife. Once they get broken in or a little softer, you can kind of flick them shut. They have the, I forget what they call it. It's like an invisible lock. So in order to unlock it, you do that.
You pin. Oh, you wiggle it like a magic whiskers.
It's like a scale lock.
Yeah, it's got like a little bolster lock on the tail. Is it bigger or smaller than the Dragonfly?
Bigger.
It's bigger. Okay.
Dragonfly, very similar actually. Very similar. Less blade, more handle, I think.
For some reason, I was thinking the Meerkat was the same line as the new Mantra 4, which was that 8CR.
Oh no, this is a
okay. Because I love the designs on that Mantra's good looking knife, but I'm not buying it in 8CR.
That's 5.5 inches overall, Gary. I don't know how big that one is.
I don't know. 5.5.
Why'd you lower it below the table, John?
What's that?
Why'd you lower it below the table?
Which table?
Never mind.
Oh,
also just about 5.5 overall.
Okay, so they're about the same length.
But the blade's 1 3/4 inches.
And I think this one's Seki City, Japan.
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Seki City. These have always been Seki City. They're nice. They're cool. And they're not expensive. They're like $120 or something, $130.
And they're great cutters. They take up very little room in your pocket. And for me, I could carry it in my urban environment, and it could be an EDC knife. It's big enough. I could get by with a fifth pocket knife.
I have another cool knife to show you. It's downstairs. I'll go get it in a little bit. My Buck Custom came in.
We have 2 custom shop Bucks that are from last year, and I was amazed. I'm sure yours are different, but what they can do in the custom shop.
It's cool, and it's also like,
is it staggy? Do you have thick bone on yours?
Mine has burgundy micarta.
I definitely want to see it because and these are not inexpensive knives, the ones we have, which I think they have some kind of bone that's one side is thicker than the other side, but the purists tell me that shows that it's authentic, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that would drive me crazy, but that's not here nor there. But
is it bone or is it stag?
It's probably stag. I don't know. It's what could you get last year?
It would be different if it's bone, but if it's stag, you should.
Yeah, I have a hard time still. I've got an old 110, but that's a traditional knife for me, and I've got so much to learn there because it's all about the handles, not the steel.
It makes me so. This is what they call the Buck Frontier, which is a big one, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll bring it up. I ordered it like 3 months ago or whatever.
And when I sent you that message tonight, is that what I'm looking for on Instagram, or do they have something on YouTube? I'll keep it just vanilla like that. The comment I want to get and find. I looked for it the other day and I couldn't.
Oh, it's on Instagram. It was a post on that 61 Rockwell, Montana folder.
All right, that's what I was.
Oh, the one where he goes off on a rant.
The one where I basically said, and I'm going to do a video. But dude, like they start calling me names, idiot, amateur.
There's a flame war going on.
Amateur. He's like, "What's your training?" I'm like, "Look, I'm a self-taught knife maker. I've been making knives for 15 years. You know, I consult with pretty significant people in the industry. And in fact, I was having a back and forth with somebody would be very recognizable, and about this very thing. How frustrating! My frustration is this: you can't tell everything about a knife just by the Rockwell hardness number.
So you're the one who started that, because I just saw a post from the dude after that where he had a big ass rant and acted like a complete baby and asshole about it.
Yes, that's a good description, Kyle. I think you could go with that. That was because of me.
Gotcha.
And I found you here. Hot take. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I wasn't even going to share it. I just want to investigate it, and I've got it pinned now. Because Gary reached out to me yesterday and said, you might want to check these comments. I'm kind of in it.
You know, I stayed above the fray. You know, I'm not calling anybody names, but there's all these know-nothings telling me what I should know, you know, and that's sort of irritating.
Well, you've got thousands of knives that you've practiced on.
Yeah. Yeah. I
kind of got inside knowledge to what you're supposed to be doing.
But look, I'm the last guy on the planet to carry Montana's water, you know? So like but they had a knife that was right about 61 Rockwell and Magna Cut. And they're like, "Oh, that's crap. That's a junk knife. That's terrible. Oh, they don't know what they're doing." Blah, 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 on and on they go. And like, no, 61 is not you can do better with Magna Cut, but that doesn't mean it's a bad heat treat, and that doesn't mean it's a crap blade. You know, it just doesn't.
It's not optimal, but it's better than what other companies are doing.
It's not optimal. You'll get some you'll get some what's the word? Additional toughness. Not that you necessarily need it. Actually, I'm working on a video, and I'm working on PowerPoint. I can show it to you a little bit if you want.
And not by a lot either, because as Magna Cut goes up, it doesn't drop nearly as fast as a lot of steels, which Laren found out that was a byproduct of the steel. He wasn't even shooting for that, but that happened by circumstance.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I don't know. Did you guys want to see any of this?
Yeah, I'd love to see it if you got it handy. If you got to dig for it, I don't want you to put yourself through work. Looks like you made it home, though.
I did make it home. All right. On share screen.
I actually, speaking off of what Gary was talking about, I actually bought my first 2 knives of 2026 this past week.
2026.
Yep.
I recognize that.
Negative 2.8 HRC.
It's a great slide.
So basically, generally speaking, you're limited in what you can actually tell about, a blade by its simply Rockwell test. But in this case, where it's 21, 2, 3, I said 25. That was generous. It's annealed. So right. I can say that is a bad heat treat, pretty
right.
Pretty conclusively. So, but if we come here to this slide, I put these extra lines in here just to make things clear, because a lot of people don't notice the dotted lines in the background.
I didn't until you pointed it out.
So these results are catch or cut tests of steels at particular hardnesses. But most steels, now ABL is a little bit, and that could be testing variance, but and this steel, it's 14, no, whatever steel this blue one is, I don't know what it is. But anyway, they usually go on about a 45-degree angle here. So as the hardness goes up, the edge retention goes up also. So for instance, just as a for instance here, I'm going to grab this 8670. I'm going to put this in the 8670 line. Now I'm going to run 8670 at, I think I'm going to run around 62, right around here. And so here's 1095, but most people run 1095 down here, 5960, tops and a lot of those kinds of companies. So if I'm running 8670 up here, I'm going to have better edge retention and way higher toughness. So it'll both be tougher and better edge retention than 1095.
Using the same steel, but just tweaking your heat treat protocol.
Yeah, to get it to perform the way I want it to perform. And so when we look at all these things, so let's go to MagnaCut. Here's MagnaCut at 65. Now that's really some hard MagnaCut. Now, if we go across here, that's putting us potentially above M4. However, or right about at M4. But if you put M4 at that, then you're up here. Now, another thing to notice, these are 50 cuts, right? 50 cut increments, jumps were taken here. So if we do MagnaCut up here at 65, which is quite hard, I don't know that a vacuum furnace will get it to 65. That would be a stretch. But if you bring it down here to 61, that puts us here. Well, the difference is cutting 505 or whatever, 510, or cutting 570. So it's not like this is the bee's knees.
And you're getting half performance if you go lower.
And this is crap. It's just not. You're going to get a little more toughness down there at the lower end. But to me, I'd rather be right here around 64. But that's that. Okay, so that's that slide. So this slide, this is toughness, and as Kyle mentioned, hardness is this direction here, right? Toughness is this direction here. Oops, I moved my slide. Oop. All right. So as you go up in hardness, you do come down in toughness, but not a ton. However, if you're at 65, you're at 10 pound-feet, or 9, let's say. And if you're at 61, you're at 17. So that's not a little bit.
That's a considerable, isn't it? Wouldn't that be considered a considerable jump in toughness?
That is a considerable jump. So, I mean, depending on what you value, but here's the crux of it. The Crilly heat treatment quadrilateral. How do you like that?
I think it sounds great.
Gary, before we get into that, can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
So going back to that chart, I wanted to kind of emphasize something to people who get things wrong when it comes to, they just read a chart and says, okay, this cuts this many feet, or this is ranked in 8, so that's higher. I've never done the studying and the research on it. If you look at a steel in there like Nitro V or 14C, okay, I'm just throwing it out there for example, it's considered a budget steel. But when you look at the principles of it and how hard it is, when you push it out to 63, 64, which a lot of people don't do unless it's in the custom world, you'll see dramatic increase in edge retention, and it's still tougher than most of your super steels, even as it's dropping off.
Yeah. So if you take it, oops, I went a little too far there. If you take AEBL, what'd you say, 63?
Yeah.
That's putting you at edge retention above LC200N, above some of these others. And of course, because it's tougher, you can drop the edge angle more. You can make the geometry a little more aggressive. Yeah. You can make it perform. But to prove another point, though, okay, so here we have ABL at, say, 63. Let's even say 64 right here. All right, there you are at 410 cuts, we'll call it. Well, at 61 Rockwell, where are we? MagnaCut is still substantially better in edge retention.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But I'm just saying, as far as like the people who are
poo-pooing
budget steels and saying that, you have to have the super steels, you can push on certain steels, you can push the performance out of them and still maintain that toughness. So like even at what's the toughness on 63 AEBL right there? It's got to be still considerably higher than most of those super steels.
AEBL at 63 Rockwell looks to be about 17 pound-feet.
Right. So that's higher. That's higher than most of the super steels, even at the low end.
Yeah. S90.
Oh, well, let's take even let's see, what's a good one to take? S30. That's all the way down here at 5.
Right.
Yeah, so you're a third.
And then you look at the S90s, S45s, M398s. They fall lower, right? The way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, ZDP's down here at 4.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. For most EDC purposes, I'd say 6 or 7 is good enough in toughness. If you're going to use it a little harder, I think you want to be above 10. If you're going to use it really hard, you're going to want to be above 15. But, look at LC200N over here. That's a really tough steel.
It really is.
But here's one thing that like you touched on too. Some of those steels that have that toughness to play with so like this is all in a vacuum as far as the numbers, right? But say you take that 63 AEBL and you grind it to 6 thou behind the edge. It's going to outcut something in S90 at 15 or 20 thou behind the edge at those numbers because of geometry, right?
Yeah, well, potentially, depending what you're cutting, but yeah.
So to me, you have more flexibility with toughness in some of these steels that people don't take it seriously. Like I don't need a tough steel because I'm not pushing those limits. I'm not using it for outdoor stuff. Well, it gives you other options besides just having it to beat on, right?
Yeah. Although a lot of these companies that make, and frankly, a lot of custom makers, they'll take ABL and grind it pretty thick behind the edge.
I'm not disagreeing. I think it's a great outdoor steel, and it needs to be used more for that kind of stuff because it is so tough and it is stainless. But the opportunities for that steel in the custom world died off because everyone claimed it as a budget steel. But when you put a high hardness, good heat treat on it and run good geometry, that steel will keep up with a lot of your quote unquote high performance steels.
Well, hey, Kyle, can you answer that for Kathleen?
No, not with the right equipment. It's not.
Yeah,
and that's just being diamonds, right?
Diamond CBN, yeah.
Diamond or CBN. At this point, you can buy a diamond plate for $10 on Amazon that'll sharpen every steel out there. Yeah, it's not too hard to sharpen, especially, especially something like. In fact, one could make an argument that, the soft steels are harder to sharpen because the burr won't break off.
Oh, 100%. A gas station knife is way harder to sharpen than any other steel on the planet because it doesn't form an apex. It wants to smear and go back and forth. You can't get a good, solid apex on it.
Hey, Kyle, on another subject, my buddy A to Z picked up a Poltava and the 2 Alpha stones you recommended.
Yep.
And we sharpened his Doug Ritter. He rolled the edge on it.
Yep.
10 passes on the Poltava. And it was, and just weight of the stone, that knife was sharp and he was able to finish it out. But one thing that he didn't take account for, and he didn't understand the thickness compensator, but I was surprised that the Poltava is actually 2 to 3 millimeters thicker because of the aluminum back than the, are yours that way? Is your
Poltava? Yeah, the Poltavas are slightly thicker than the Alphas, but not by a lot, but slightly.
But so you do use your thickness compensator because we calculated for, you don't for that little bit of.
I don't, because I zero it out on my
on your angle finder.
Gauge. Yeah, on the angle finder. But
you're getting
when I flip them back and forth, it's less than typically it's less than 0.2 degrees, which is not going to offset any noticeable difference to the eye.
Well, he made me want that stone, that Poltava.
I told you.
I know, but at the time I got, Victor, whoever, to send me those Alphas, and I'm still where I can't. I did get my truck paid off, which is good. So I don't have that 500 coming out of me every month. Maybe I can get a Poltava now.
Go ahead, Gary.
All right. So the last slide, to be
the crux.
Nerdy and geeky. The Creeley heat treatment quadrilateral. I'm actually taking that from a theological thing called the Wesley quadrilateral, but I'm just borrowing the concept. So, one of the things that happens with these sites is, in particular, this hardness testing site, is everybody jumps on a bandwagon about, somebody told them that MagnaCut has to be 65 or else it's not good. And like, that's all they know. They don't know anything else about anything except for that, because somebody they trust told them that. And perhaps somebody they trusted didn't know what they were talking about, or likely. Anyway, enough of that. The point of this little quadrilateral is this. There are good heat treats and there are bad heat treats. There are conservative heat treats, say like 61 on MagnaCut. Now, in fairness, some of that MagnaCut was coming in at like 58. Some of the other knives, not the folder, and then an aggressive heat treat, running it at 63, 4, 5, if we're in MagnaCut land. So the problem that happens is people think good heat treat equals aggressive heat treat, and bad heat treat equals conservative heat treat, lower hardness. And that is the
overstepping. That's overstepping what they mean.
It is overstepping what they mean, and it is outrageous to be making that judgment based on one data point. And so what this guy was saying to me, besides calling me a hypocrite and all this kind of other stuff, was he's like, well, where's all your testing data? I'm like, dude, I'm not the one putting this stuff out. I don't, it's not incumbent on me to offer that to you. And it's going on about, what's your training and da-da-da-da-da. The funny thing is, he's like, I work in a lab and I have this ASTM certification. And I'm like, he asked me if I have any degrees in metallurgy, which I do not. And so, I'm like, so what is your degree?
You got a friend that does.
And he doesn't have any degree, or at least he wouldn't say, so it's just like, dude, okay. But I consult with people with terminal degrees in the field.
Because you got people that have used your knives. Right.
His rant after your post, or after your comments, Gary, were very much on brand with stuff that he had wrote on Facebook, or had someone write on Facebook for him, John.
Yeah, the thread.
It wasn't even a thread. It was just very. No, I'm not talking about Facebook. I'm talking about the one he posted on IG. It was very arrogant,
like a man-child,
very childish, very like I'm the know-it-all of everything, and this isn't science because I'm right about everything. It's asinine, and I still.
And he's self-appointed. I mean, he's self-appointed.
Well, yeah, him and MC's his buddy now, so that pushes him thinking he knows what he's talking about. But he can have access to this, but he was quoting like, "Oh, well, I've only made a little bit of money doing this, and I've spent so much money in the process." Blah blah blah. I'm like, no one cares.
Yeah,
like, first of all, this is a passion project. No one asked you to do this. Do I appreciate the process being done by someone? Yes. Is his equipment good? Yes. Does he know what he's talking about? Somewhat. Does he know everything? No, none of us do. But the thing about I hate is the attitude and acting like his results are the scientific
end all be all
set in stone because you're doing a sample size of 1. GTFO. Like, really? Like, that does not equate to any scientific study.
Not to mention it's 1 data point.
That's what I was saying. He's doing a sample size of 1 in a batch of sent to one. Like, if he was doing it, he'd be taking the same knife, same model from multiple batches from different people to be able to get a complete sample size of a decent amount of that same item. You can't just test one knife from one person and be like, oh, this is the result. That's the result of that knife, but it doesn't mean they're all going to be that way.
It sucks that he doesn't have better communication skills, because I've watched a couple of chats with Chinese companies. I think Vosti was one of them. You was communicating back and forth with him, wanting to do better when he found out the results were bad. And I think where he's able to get people to reevaluate, where they'll send him to Damascus to cut up and test different things with, I think that's good for the overall community. I think the way he goes about it, though, he turns off people that are allies to him in the community, and he turns off people that might not send him anything because I just don't want you messing with my shit.
Well, not only that, but here's the thing too. The fact that you want the company to send it to you so you can get it for free to test it, I can understand that from a monetary standpoint, but that has absolutely zero weight in the scientific side of it, because you're getting what they decide to send to you. Could be cherry picked and, from the best option.
Which
you don't know it. You need to be doing multiple samples from different results or different batches, excuse me.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that it's not always easy to scale that quickly, but I think his rants in between his work, because when he just posts his work, that's one thing. You're testing a knife, or you tested 3 if it was SRM, whatever the case may be. But when you start going into, and I've seen other people I respect on Instagram kind of taking the same angle about stuff. I know they're frustrated for this or that or the other.
Well, one of the things, and if I'm entirely honest, one of the things with me is I just get frustrated. Like, I got frustrated with Survive Knives laying down nonsense. And with this single data point, Outdoors 55, Alex Garland, he did a YouTube video a while back showing, I don't know if it was a knife in 1084 or some simple steel like that, where he heat treated it to the same hardness 3 different ways. And, one of them was a really good heat treat and the 2 others were terrible heat treats, but they both tested at 61. Now, I can't get into Alex's mind and tell, what he was thinking, but I can't help but thinking that was his subtle way of pushing back on this in particularly. I went kind of straight ahead. Now, I'm not going to mention them by name in the video that I post, but I am going to talk about that, and I'll probably talk the way in which they attacked me. Look, at first he's, one of the things he said is, I'm getting attacked by a big time knife maker and hypocrite. So I don't know that either of those are true.
No, but he thinks if you didn't send him free knives that you're not leaning into the program. He's got a twisted sense of what his entitlement is. But go ahead. It wasn't against.
Well, there's this sense like I've worked my butt off doing all these tests, and I just won't do them. I don't care, dude. I got 2 Rockwell testers. I test every knife I get, just about.
Yeah.
Like, it ain't no thing for me, and it ain't no thing for a lot of us knife makers. We have access to Rockwell testers,
and you want your knives to perform because you don't want warranty work, and you want customers to come back and be evangelistic.
Well, acts like you found like the spring of eternal life here. Like, It's just a Rockwell tester. Lots of
But
people
he's
have.
bringing
That's a
it,
particularly nice one. I'll give him that. I like
and
that
his
editorial.
power trip that's effective for a large amount of the community is no one's come with this information in this type of quantified website synthesis before. So he does have a lot of the people that are getting mixed bags or not complete information. He's got their
And they don't
attention.
understand what they're looking at.
That's right. And that's because he's not doing, maybe he's only talking about what he knows about. I don't know, because I don't follow it except just when he posts the stuff.
There are, excuse me, there are at least off the top of my head, several databases out there. May not have as many as this guy has now, but he's also getting sent these by the same people over and over to test it, like, you know, the same brands and stuff, or their favorite brands or whatever.
I'm sure they're going to want to test one of mine now.
But there are several, like, I mean, okay, for instance, I know he hasn't done it in a long time. He hasn't updated it, but Brian Kim was doing a lot of them. I trust Brian to the nth degree. Cedric was doing a bunch of them there for a while. He had a whole database going as well, too. There are people who have access to that who can test a lot of knives that come through. That doesn't mean that they're the end-all be-all. It just means that they're putting out what data that they have collected so far to give as a guide.
Sure.
It's not the definitive answer.
Another thing that he's flirting with that I don't think he realizes is, you know, a lot of these knife companies are litigious, and you know,
wait till he gets his first bad Microtech, he'll find out.
Right?
Yeah,
or Heretic.
And if they're off, look, I can tell you this: a Rockwell test, they're finicky machines. Like, they can be affected by temperature and humidity and any other host of things. You know, that's why you do 5 pokes. You know, like, they can be off, even good ones, for one reason or the other. And if you post something like that does damage to their company, and you're off even by a little bit,
you're liable.
Like, you could be. So, like, yeah, I mean, but to me, the biggest frustration was I wasn't really coming at him. And him and his fanboys were nasty.
Yeah, you were just throwing another way to look at the data that you're trying to collect. I mean, I thought it was very professional.
Well, because they bought into the cult-like mentality, and it's just an echo chamber. No one ever goes in there and pushes back. Everyone just believes everything they say, and, you know, because he's got some credibility, quote unquote, from a big YouTuber, which means absolutely jack shit in the scientific world. But like, when you look at some of the people who have done this for a long time, none of them come out and are like, I know everything. They're going to say, hey, this is my findings. Here's my theory behind it. Let's do more testing to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just his overall approach. Quick man hug, guys. Hold on one second. Thanks for hanging with me, Bloom.
And I'm not going to speak out of school and mention any names, but I can tell you there are significant metallurgists in the community that are really getting annoyed at this guy.
Well, that's
so it's not just me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to keep an eye on it more because that's interesting. Because I would have loved to have chimed in earlier on and just.
I told you from the very get, this dude was a douche.
I know. Well, I knew he was from the posting, and I always agree with you on the way he carries himself. And I look at it as childish, like he goes to name calling when he's met by somebody like Gary that's just throwing some, you know, some facts to look at outside of what you're currently doing.
Not to be any kind of way, I'm absolutely 100% correct in what I'm saying. Like, and you can't take that one data point usually. And that's why that's why this slide exists. Because, okay, that's the only data point we need here. No need for further exploration.
True.
Yeah. You know, but outside of that, simply getting a 61 score, I would run Magna Cut hard. I do run Magna Cut harder than that, but I'm not going to trash I'm not going to trash them over that. Like, you were buying a $400 Montana G10 folder with MagnaCut in the first place.
That's what we're talking about, Bloom.
Gary, I would not trash them, but I would say they need to look into getting it better. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say the company, don't buy from the company, they suck. I would say if you're at your $400 and you're stuck on performance of the knife, then look other areas. But if you want the knife because you want the knife, then buy it and be happy.
Buy a Hogue for $200,
or just buy that and be happy. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
but here's the thing, the whole Montana knife thing is a lifestyle. Is a lifestyle brand anymore. They're selling clothes. They're selling all kinds of stuff, and so yeah.
Kathleen is correct. He got enough push and hype from the channel that people actually take creed in what he's saying, and it's just like he understands the principles of it, and he has a passion for it, which I applaud. And I do want these companies to be held accountable, so I applaud that as well too. I just think the approach is terrible, the attitude is terrible, and his expectations out of this and what people think of him doing this are terrible. Like, he's no savior. Like, we'll be fine without him.
And my hot take was 61's not great, but it's not total crap either. Like, if we go back to the chart, if we go back to our chart here, 61 MagnaCut at 61 is better than all of these steels and edge retention. So it's not a bad steel, and it's probably, it's almost as tough as AABL at that hardness. While let's take AEBL. If ABL was at 61, you'd be down here at 350 rather than 500. And my point is, it's just still a very serviceable steel, just like these are serviceable steels. It's not like a crap junk knife just because of that. Now, I mean, I get it. Why put it here when you can put it here? Like,
but just
and with a trade-off of toughness, you don't need especially in a folder.
Let me get into one more very nuanced section of this that people don't discuss. I know I've talked about it before, but I'm going to harp on it one more time. There's a big difference in people talk about, okay, the steel will cut this long. Let's talk about what happens after the steel cuts it long and you need to bring it back to a workable edge. There are steels that strop and hone better than other steels. That makes certain steels much more field maintenance or user easy to bring back, and or just I can strop and hone it multiple times before I need to take it to an actual stone. Where other steels, once you get to that dead end, they don't strop or hone back very well. You have to take them to a stone, right? That, to me, should account for edge retention. I think, in my opinion, edge retention should be at least 2, if not 3 cycles of how long it cuts and what it takes in between that to bring it back to that usable edge and then do the testing again. Because there are certain steels, like I said, I can strop 3-4 times and hone it before I need to take it back and reprofile it, right? There's other ones that you need to take it back to a stone almost immediately. That should account for some of the user experience of that length of that cutting experience.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And, depending, like these super steels, like if you have MagnaCut at 64, you can do a whole lot of bushcrafting before you need to sharpen it. Unless you hit something that you didn't mean to.
Right. I mean, but so like, for instance, the one I was talking about there, because again, I'm going to harp on it because performance based, it performs better than its quote unquote prices. That family of Nitro V 14C ABL, it hones and drops so well that if I hit it a few times on that, it's going to keep up. It's going to cut the same as some of these super steels without taking it to a stone, if that makes sense.
It'll continue to cut after you've stropped it.
With some of these super steels, if it runs out, it's not going to strop back nearly as well. It'll strop back and you'll get something out of it, but it's not going to be a full edge again.
Right.
14C 28N. I think there are a lot of Chinese knives that say they're that steel that are not.
Very possible. And that kind of ties into Bob Tism's observation here. And I know from going to the Kaiser dinner that they are very intuitive about what the community wants. That's why they bring out stuff quicker than others, because they're trying to stay plugged in. And I think that's good that Bees is pushing HRC, whoever it is, because maybe he can communicate with them now because he's been marketing for them for so long in their native tongue. But
I appreciate that he's doing that, but I just wish, no offense to him, I just wish someone would be, if that's the case, someone would be talking to them who has a little more background on that to get the correct data points to them of what we actually want.
Yeah.
One, proof of steel. 2, looking at your recipes, your protocols, your heat treat protocols, and then being able to get a result, not just throw 16 new knives at the wall and see what sticks every month.
So
I agree.
I don't entirely understand Bob Tism's comment here. He saw Bees at Kaiser.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I can explain that one for you. And Bees is a big creator. Hold on, my cat's about to walk across my soundboard.
Oh, you're good.
Well, we didn't get any sounds. Okay, so he was basically saying that he heard at Blade Show, Bees, when they were asking Bees, what do his viewers say that they'd like to see Kaiser do better at? And he said everybody's focused on HRC. And Kaiser, I think, was very receptive, taking that information in. And I think his point, Bob Tism's, was, and I could be reading it wrong, that they did talk about HRC and Taylor kind of being the gatekeeper to that. And I say that because the companies I've seen treat him with the most respect are your big. I haven't seen Kaiser caught up in it, but I saw Wu from Vosteed really cowering to him, and I wanted to reach out to Wu and tell him not to worry. One of his knives came in like M390 at 59 or something, and he wanted to know and make it better. You know, he was very much taking his data at face value.
Well, I think the Chinese understand better than most how important internet, social media sort of storms can be. And so, you know, they're already kind of a step or two behind the curve because of, you know, being Chinese.
Right.
So, but they're also the ones that are exploiting the marketing side of it and sending out boxes of knives to anyone and everyone.
Well, and
they're also the ones doing fake steals.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing, but that's getting them more eyeballs and sales than it is hurting them by putting out a fake steel.
But how there are different gauges of how those companies carry themselves. They may all be made in the same place, but I can tell you, for one, Kaiser and the language barrier, the proudest I was at that dinner before we started trying to talk business was this Chinese guy who wanted to give the welcome speech, and he was doing it not in his language. And you could tell he was real nervous, but his message was strong. You know, it's just about people and knives. And then when I was talking to the dealer guy about how do you work with that, he had a really hard time understanding me, but he was very white collar, if you can call it that, very leaning in, taking notes. And he got back to me via email with a bunch of stuff that I needed like a week later. So I think there's some that try to not exploit just everybody and say, sell our knives. They want to find out how their knives are being received after they've been used. I know Kaiser's concerned about the longevity and the happiness of the customer. Seems like the same type of customer service mentality that a lot of the American companies I work with have, except they're not local.
John, they're looking for repeat customers and being able to continue to get sales. So that's why they're mass flooding the market with so many knives, so many influencers. They don't and they may care about, okay, people are looking for action. So they went, they had the action bros out there. So now they're trying to get everything to drop shutter. They're looking for this. They're following trends and fads. They ultimately, when it comes down to metallurgy, majority of people don't give a shit. It's the point is they're looking at buying a knife because it's cool. It makes them happy. It's got the right colors. Their friends got one, whatever it may be. But metallurgy is way down and performance is way down on the list. Right?
I've seen it twice in real life.
And they're catering to that crowd, not the performance crowd. There's a big, big difference in trying to make a company understand that from a whole different language and that they don't care. That's not their mantra. Then they're not going to bow to that. They've done the whole, we're doing CPM 10V, CPM 3V, and it never performs because it's not the same steel, right?
Right.
It to them, that is a selling point by putting that label on there, but it doesn't mean shit because their customers don't care. Their customers are going to say, okay, this new Kaiser is great. It's got this new super steel. They're not going to test it to the point of knowing if it's that actual super steel or not. They don't care.
I know, but
it makes them happy seeing that it has that label on it. And they're going to continue buying that.
Like,
especially when you got YouTubers who are telling them this is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
It's not since sliced bread. It's better than what's out there for $70. And what I mean by that is Cobra Tech is what all the knife stores carry because they've got good margins and they have people that come around locally and fill the stores with automatics out the fronts and manual knives. And they're in the $40 to $60 range. And they're not good knives at all. And then they've got the M-Techs. And that's the extent of their import offerings. What they don't have are those $70 knives that are, I think, punch well above a $70 price point in materials. Even if the materials are analogs, they're better than, I mean, I've never had, and again, I'm not cutting a ton and I've got a lot of knives, but I've never had a problem when I was buying Kaisers or since I've reviewed Kaisers, which is why I work with them. Because I do think they care. They're not perfect. And I'm sure they've got the same, we want as much of the market share, just like anybody would that's in business competing in that.
I'm not a fan of Hogue necessarily, but you can't tell me if someone was looking for performance or even slightly cared, they wouldn't be better off buying one Hogue Deca versus two Kaisers or 1.5 Kaisers.
Well, I agree with that. Now where I am, I totally agree with that because I told you how dark gravity got me to change my purchasing habits. But before, I was collecting quantity. That's how I got my dopamine rush from my inbound email. So I would rather have 2 Civivs or 3 Civivs than one Hogue at the time. I changed that and even quantified it much. What's up, Double D Blades? And even worked, harder to not support them with my dollars. For
Read that comment, John. That may be the most poignant comment of the evening.
I agree, Kathleen. I think that's right on point. And I think a lot of things can exist at the same time, right? I think you can have all that be true in the same boardroom where they're trying to figure out the balance between giving people what they want at a price point that they can afford. And I don't know if you know, Kyle, but Kaiser released their Yellow Box series at Blade Show, which are only going to be a few knives that are kind of Riot quality. They're up there. They're the bigger knives. And
I saw some stuff from the Kaiser booth on the table that was absolutely disgusting as far as what their marketing was on it, as far as the price points and everything else. There was a whole was it Lundquist series that came out? They were all like $300. And then they had
the Yellow Boxes.
Then they had another one, I don't know what the differential in it was, but it was $5.99.
Tom Askus, I saw that one.
I mean, get out of here.
That's just a show out. They probably won't make more than 50 of those.
No one in the right mind is spending that money on the Kaiser.
So one of the companies that Knives and More is considering is Kaiser, and they got a preview into their dealer portal, which shows you knives that are coming. And you will not believe who's collaborated with them on a small fixed blade.
hang on one second. Bob, I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from on that. And I think that's ultimately sad because he's getting credence from someone who also doesn't know anything about it, what he's talking about, and that's MC. So, like, to have that push just because someone's quote unquote got online clout doesn't make
it true.
The answer's correct. And that's sad that people are spending their hard-earned money. So that's okay. Going back, I know a lot of people give me shit, and I don't care because I say I'm grumpy or I hate everything. I don't hate everything. I'm trying to get people informed so that they have the best possible information to make a purchase that makes them happy. If they buy something that is crap, I don't care. That's fine. Buy something that they like. I'm fine with that. I just want them to have the information to be able to make an informed decision. That's why I say a lot of things. I've had the opportunity to hold a absolute metric F ton of knives come through here of all different types of quantity, quality, everything else. And I know what these companies are making, right? And I want people to be able to use their money efficiently, effectively, and still be happy. So they can buy whatever brand they want. I don't care if it's Chinese, whatever, as long as it makes them happy. But they have the information to make that decision. I don't want them going online, finding some YouTuber, I don't care who it is, whatever, and that has their face in the thumbnail going like, "This is the great new knife," blah blah. And it's just some new
thumbnails. Those are AI.
Your thumbnails suck. But it was just some stupid Chinese knife that comes out every other week. And it may be a good knife. That's fine. But you've lost all credibility when you said that about every single knife that comes out. Everything comes out is not fantastic. They can be decent.
They can be getting better than the ones that you reviewed last year. And
they're just trying to push the whole keeping up with the Joneses and buying more crap. You don't need the crap. Buy what you want. But don't keep spending all the money all the time on every single knife because you don't need them.
And you've got to buy Apache cases, and it gets to be not only cost prohibitive, but you have too many cases around you. And nobody needs to make a fort out of knife cases.
You see too many people in these chats, and I'm not going to say names or where I see it or whatever, but there's too many people in these chats that go like, I got to sell a bunch of knives this week because I got a car payment, or I got rent, or I got this, or I got that. No offense, but you shouldn't be spending disposable income on these kind of items if you don't have anything in savings to be able to take care of stuff. Like, take care of you and your family and your loved ones, and you use your money wisely, and don't be spending it on depreciating assets like knives that ultimately 99.9% of the people in these chats don't really care whether you own something or not.
And I agree with you, Kyle. And I also know from being young and dumb that they're all going to realize that at their own pace. And, I agree with you 100%. Don't spend real bill money on knives. It's a discretionary type thing. You don't need it. We've all got enough knives. Or
buy knives you can afford.
Exactly.
Within your means is something that is totally blown out of proportion with reviews, and a lot of it's, FOMO and recency bias. That's why the whole budget realm became so popular, because everyone can buy 4 or 5, 6 knives a month and justify it versus
one good one.
You're right. And I just want people to have the correct information and make the wise decisions themselves. That's all I care about. You do what makes you happy, but I want to inform people of what's accurate, so that way they can make the decision themselves, because unfortunately there's too many people out there just pushing the push, because guess what? Their little affiliate link is going to get the money at the end of the month, and they don't care one way or another about you.
I'll tell you, so few people that buy knives that are influenced use the affiliate links. I never did, and I felt bad afterwards. I would never use affiliate links, and nobody uses them. But I agree with all of that. One thing that I think I've noticed in the knife store is we talk about choice, and we talk about right now, if someone that's not on the internet comes into the store and they don't want to spend $280 on a knife, they can go up front and they can buy Cobra Tech or Crate or a couple of other Chinese brands, M-Tech, anywhere from $70 to, lower. And you're never going to go above these two. All those knives, every one of them's Chinese D2. So my thought is, if you can bring in a knife that offers more design options than just out the fronts and a few out the sides that all look the same, and you're able to offer it in AEBL, whether it's real or not, it's better than D2 and your only choice being D2. So comparative to what they have now, I think that would be a perfect brand to bring in to satisfy that price point for people who want more choices or more sophistication in a knife, because those people don't have the budget to buy a ProTech or a Spyderco.
Yeah, but here's the thing, John. That you can get a ProTech or Spyderco for $150. Like there is a market currently that's untapped. If some of these companies would be willing to put out a dirt cheap, is sub $100, an $80 knife and a basic steel like 14C, that's doable on a mass level. Like if Spyderco right there, that one's 130 or 120 or whatever. But say Spyderco came out with that same knife, Gary, and it was $80 and 14C. That would be an absolute home run. And they could do it and make money.
Yeah. Probably not in Japan though.
Right. No, but I'm saying, but $80 to $100 market for a USA made or US brand knife, I think would be a market that is untapped that you could do in a budget steel as far as what it costs, but still be able to make money off of it. Because you're not spending money on handles, you're doing FRN, you're doing something basic.
Like what is it, the Bucklight Slim? Not the new one, but the one they've been making a while. I mean, those are like
118, right?
$40.
Oh, I'm looking at a different knife.
The plastic one.
Okay,
plastic.
yeah. They are like under 50.
Yeah. Like there are choices out there.
I just meant because unfortunately, like with that Mantra 4, I love that Spyderco Mantra 4. But again, it's $80 and it's 8CR. I'm not
not to be whatever, but you can also buy used stuff.
I don't disagree with that either, but people don't know the market and they don't go look. Or you get people like that are pumping that whatnot, and you go in there and people are selling stuff for above retail on there. It's like people get hosed no matter how they look at it. It's just a matter of knowing what you're looking for, right?
I think the perfect mix is if you've got a brick and mortar, which most people don't. But the thing that Knives and More does is they take a lot of trades. Now, they might not let you trade for something if they don't need the knife, but they trade for budget knives just to have some, and they trade for Benchmades and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So yeah,
people there all the time, wheeling and dealing.
Oh, and the guy's fun to deal with. Dude, he does appraisals on the side, and it costs per hour. If you bring your case knives down there that you found in grandma's home and you have to get them appraised. We have people come from Chicago and they always end up selling him the collection because they don't want to pay the appraisal fee. Because it can take him 15 hours.
You look each one up.
Exactly right.
And there's a zillion of them usually.
Blooming zillion, and the things like the handles can make all the difference. You can have the same pattern, same tang stamp, and because it's a certain handle material, they only made 200 because the machine broke or some stupid story like that.
So, speaking of U.S. made knives, here's a USA made knife.
I love it. So you got a fixed blade custom shop. Okay, open that bad boy up.
This thing is...
I've been very impressed with all the folders that I've played with and taken pictures of. While you get that out, I'm going to show a picture of one in a folder that came from the Buck custom shop. Then I'm coming right back to you. This is is it 114 under the 110? 005. This is an 005, and then it said on the box the 55. So that's a small.
Look at that thickness behind the edge, and that's probably a 40 degree.
Let me get back to you. Hold
on. So here,
and that's hollow ground, right?
No, this is flat ground. The standard version of this knife is hologram. This is not a super common. Look at that. It's got the USA on there.
And that shows you that Buck can make a high quality knife, because those custom shops are another level.
All right. Don't love this design of sheath, to be honest with you, but it's not like I'm going to use this knife anyway.
It's a good looking knife.
What's that called?
The Frontier.
That's a good old cowboy knife. Is it S35? I can't. USA Buck. Moss heat treat. MagnaCut. Ooh, nice.
I'm not sure I understand the choil in front of the hilt, though.
You're not supposed to understand.
It's Buck.
I'm just saying. It just seems a little odd, but it's a good looking knife overall, though.
They all have that. So you would look at this knife and think that this is, a stick tang, but it's actually that. And I think that might have something to do with how the guard looks or
Locks
gets on
in.
there. But this is a flat grind. I guess they were just feeling a little
mini clip
lazy on the swedge there, or the false edge.
Would you call that a straight back design? Or does a straight back not have the guard around it? And the only reason I say that is the new Microtech Acrea is called a straight back knife. And I don't know what that means, because the back wasn't straight on it.
I don't know. I guess it could be. I mean, if that swedge was a little more aggressive, it could almost look like a clip.
Clip, yeah.
Kind of a Bowie.
It's a beautiful knife, though.
It's big too. It's chunky. I have like large hands, and
see, if I'm looking at a full size camp knife or a hiking knife, I don't mind it dangling down my hip. I like to carry it that way, but that's the only time, because I carry one every day.
Now, I would have done a better job of rounding these corners and thinning that out and contouring that a little more. But I just like Buck. I like the story. I like the company. This is probably some of the best work that they do.
And the fact that they offer it on all their models, I didn't realize how deep it went, because we bought those from a guy who was a collector, those custom shops that we have in with those bone handles.
Dude, I don't know if they may not let dealers go on and order custom stuff.
Well, no, these came in from a trade-ins.
I know those did, but I don't know if they would let you as a dealer.
They won't.
No.
It's a custom exclusive thing.
Really cool to order, 10 of these.
Is that bone or is that stag? Can you tell, or would it have to be on the box? Because it looks the same, right?
This is Burgundy micarta.
No, I'm talking about the one I'm sharing.
Oh.
That's a custom shop folder, a 112.
That looks like stag.
Okay.
To me.
So we had a guy that brought in a bunch of cases, and he had about 6 of those custom shop bucks with all the certificate of authenticity or origination or whatever. And they were very impressive knives. And I will tell you, we get box sets from Case, and none of the ones in the box set are going to be centered either. So if you buy a Case box set thinking you're going to get centered cases, no.
Here's the funny thing. Like, this is MagnaCut, and I think they said they ran it at 63. It is a very blocky handle.
Is it a new release? That's what Todd's asking. Is that a re-release of an older model? It is, right?
I don't know if they ever stopped making the Frontier or not.
Baptism.
I'm just not sure if they ever did. But the funny thing is, this is ground relatively thin at the edge, believe it or not. And man, I would have loved this as a teenager.
Oh, what a great Rambo knife.
But I like Bucks, and this, I'll be honest with you, this knife makes me happy.
Yeah, I think it's a great knife. I love the way it's packaged. I love the way it feels in the hand, the ones I've felt.
I could go on a laundry list. I could take this into my shop and make it better.
But you take away the nostalgia from what you love about Buck.
I'm not going to use this. Yeah, I'm just it's ridiculous. What would you use this for?
Well, I mean, if you went camping, you've got better knives because you make them. But some people would find that as a fine camp knife, and they might use it if they had disposable.
It wouldn't be great for a lot of camp tasks, though.
Well, for starting a fire sticking or feather sticking, and cutting up food, fish around the fire. It wouldn't be
great for breaking down like batoning. This isn't a great batoning knife.
No. Well, if you're Erica and you do it on your garage floor that's cement, none of them are very good.
Don't get me started.
Well, she chipped that TRM, and I was just so mad that she was like, I can't believe this is so chippy. I was like, did you not hear it hit the floor? That wasn't wood that did it. The Spider I don't know if they did a Magnum X Man.
Just the mule so far.
Yeah, I thought so. And
the mule was CPM.
Right.
And different than
Magnum X.
Magnum X is now.
And
it was labeled as prototype too back then.
Yeah, it didn't even have the name yet.
And that's what it's the next batch of prototype Magna Cut. I guess it's being used up from that. ProTech is doing Joseph Vero's Synapse. Now instead of being Magna Cut, it's going to be Magna Max, the next runs.
Oh, so if they just posted it, then it hasn't released yet.
It hasn't been released yet.
No, but he said they just posted it on IG. So I guess they're coming out with one, but
they're coming out with it. Yeah, it's already been green. It's I think in production, probably ready to be close to be ordered. I know that Tate was telling me that he's going to try to order 3 of them because dealers don't get access to order them until after they've been live, which is kind of weird. I was going to say something though that was
Let me say this about Magnum X. You know, people when they get this steel and they get folders in this steel, they are going to notice that it holds an edge longer. You know, we've been processing and making stuff with it, and it is hard to work with.
Well, I'm trying to work through cardboard and find my break point on my Magna Cut so I can start seeing how much more it will cut. But they're both, and I think it's geometry too that's making my job harder.
Yeah, geometry cuts.
And my intention
is what holds it the edge longer, but the actual geometry that makes it cut. That's what slices. That's what we keep trying to get through your head, John. Like every knife that you come in, like I know what you say, but like some of those knives, just by geometry and by science, they can't be slicey. Like it may feel like it cuts well, but it's not slicey.
And Todd, what's amazing is buck and case people are very different in that retrospect. I'd say most bucks that are purchased are going to dress an animal or be used for hunting, where most cases are going to cut apples. Even the hunting knives, they're not as equipped. I think a buck, to me, even though we carry 1/10 of the bucks, I like them better. I think the fit and finish is better on a buck. I think they're doing things with advanced steels, which, you know, they have the Crossroads series at Case, which is S35, but that's about it. 2 models.
I still haven't got. I've tested a lot of steels, and I still haven't got to test Magnum X yet. I'm interested to see.
Well, I might have some for you to sharpen once I get my cut test finished.
Well, okay, so it was. I think. All right, I remember. I thought it was Baptism that I met at Blade. Yes, it was good meeting you. I always like meeting the customers. You know, I don't go to Blade Show to make money. Some guys do, and they do make a lot of money at Blade Show. I make enough to cover the table, eat like a king, and have a good
Connect
time
with your network. Well, you've got to talk to people that review your stuff, that do it objectively. I would say there's none more credible than the 2 or the 3 big ones that you got in your camp.
Yeah, I just like meeting customers and talking to people in person, and and my guys at my table are competent to have any conversation also, so it's it's just good for me to meet them. It's good for them to meet them because they're making these knives too, and so to meet some of the people, hand them a knife that they sharpened or sell them a knife that they
that's one thing that I was very impressed with, and I forget the guy's name, but he was one of your guys that was talking with me and Tate when you were talking to Alex, and you could tell he has as much mental ownership in that final product, as you'd want him to, right? I mean, he was an advocate for his sharpening job being, up to par, and they're just he knew everything about the brand. He answered all Tate's questions pretty much.
Speaking of which, do you remember the guy's name, Gary, that self-proclaimed best sharpener that you met?
No, I don't. He traded me a Microtech, an automatic Microtech.
Because there's I ran across someone the past week or so that kind of had that same attitude and discussion about certain things. And like I watched as a channel, and I watched a little bit, and I was like, holy hell. Like, wow. Okay.
Some guys really think that they sharpen in a way that nobody else can do.
Right.
And it's pretty easy these days.
Well, the thing about it too is just self-proclaiming that you're the best at anything is unbelievable. Like I'll say I'm very damn good, but am I the best in the world? Probably no, probably not. There's people who have more experience or have more hands-on that probably can do certain things that I've not got to that point to learn yet. But do I think I'm better than majority in a vast majority of the people? 100%. But it's a matter of saying that you are that person is just crazy to me.
I used to say it in digital marketing because AEs would introduce me as the expert. I've told this story before. There is no such thing as an expert. If you're an expert in sharpening or an expert in anything, that means you're not willing to learn anymore, not willing to try to get better, to realize that, well, I'm the best I am today, but if I keep doing things and learning, I'll be better tomorrow. But I'll never be an expert.
There's things that's like subject matter experts that, yeah, you can be highly trained in a field to know. Terry, I'll put you to that test. I'll prove you wrong on that.
Don't put me in that bet.
But the thing with sharpening is, you can test that and with sharpness, here's the thing, like that I've been toying with and working at in sharpening and sharpness. I like to think that in the makers who are sharpeners, that I can roll with any of those guys, any of these YouTubers, anybody. But what I have been more interested in lately is toying with the types of edges, and the grit progressions and playing. I'm like coming up with this universal edge for all my knives, or all of a particular type of knife. And so I just spend another $3,000 on a sharpener to play with a different grit progression. I'm going to do 100 grit resin bonded diamond wheel, and then go straight to 6 micron felt wheel, also guided. So, I don't know, may not work.
That's the thing about experimenting, though, Gary. Like I've found over time that to mix and match two different types of abrasives and different setups with different steels makes a huge difference as well too. And you don't learn that by just doing the same thing over and over. You have to experience that and test it and try it and see what works. And there are good guidelines out there, but not everything is the same. If I want truly the best results for a steel, I'm not necessarily using the same exact thing on every single steel. Or depending upon the angle of what I'm doing, I may jump a grit or not jump a grit, or maybe stropping at a different micron or whatever I'm doing. If I'm trying to keep a toothy edge versus going to a polish edge, I'm going to do different grit progressions. A lot of that just comes down to timing and experience and
trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. But to sit there and say that there's one way to do everything, and no, there's not. And you don't have to take everything to a polish. That comes from a lot of those whetstone guys, because they're sharpening kitchen knives and they're taking everything to a polish, stropping the shit out of it. And I don't trust best tests either. I think those are completely flawed by nature. So, and they're easily cheatable. So someone saying, "Oh, well, I got a 12 on my best test," I'm gonna say, "Okay, then
I know."
Then there's two things that happen there: either A, you cheated, or B, you absolutely polished the shit and stropped the shit out of that knife to the point where it may cut once or twice with a very, very fine precision, but it's not going to last worth anything. It's not going to have 0 tooth to it.
So, one of the things with this guy is, he said, which you would appreciate even more, he didn't say he was the best sharpener in this place. He said that, who's the guy that owns Microtech? Anthony Marfione?
Yeah.
He said that Anthony Marfione said that he was the best sharpener in here. Now,
I take that advice with a grain of pills.
And he gave, I let him trade a Microtech for one of my blades, a stitch, an automatic stitch. And it was relatively sharp, but the blade was, the sharpening job was not great. The tip was sort of jacked up.
Bevels weren't uniform.
The bevel heights going across weren't, spot on. So it was nowhere near. I could have taken that on my system and made it better in 90 seconds.
Right.
So,
hey,
now,
Bob Tism, I would say any budget knives are good to start on. That's what I did. I went through the knives that I wasn't carrying as much because I'd replaced a lot of them, and I would just work on those. I'd try to cut with them a little bit to get them a little dull, or I'd reprofile them.
I was going to say two things with that, Bob. One, I'm sorry to cut you off, John, but,
no, go ahead.
One, I would say if you want, just hit me up and I'll give you some examples of some things that will give you, if you wanted to buy something for like 20 to 30 bucks, there are some decent chef knives. They're not great knives, but they're good to practice on because you have a lot of cutting length to screw up, and it's a tall belly, so you can play with it a lot. And second thing is, if you want to learn how to use the system better, hit me up and we'll schedule an appointment, and I'll actually get on live or on a stream like this with you and teach you how to do it.
You can't ask for more than that.
So I brought my TS Prof Blitz, the cheaper one, to the shore, and I got some stones on Amazon. What's the big cheap knockoff TS Prof brand on Amazon?
Zarlik?
No.
There's another one. I've got it getting suggested to me. Hold on.
Maxim or something?
That's
I don't know. The only one I know of is the one that starts with an X, and it's
the stones weren't bad. I mean, there was a lot of diamonds sitting on my table when I was done, but let's see what I sharpened. I had a 15V second from Spyderco, and I think part of the reason it was a second is the sharpening job was jacked. So I reprofiled it, dropped it back a little bit, and did that. Went through the progressions, and my son had a Demco. It was like Chinese D2 or something, and I dropped that angle back. Although the stupid thumb stud was in the way, I just felt like grinding it off. But anyway,
you can take it off with some Nip-X or little pliers.
I should have, but I just
shoved it around.
Ground those thumb studs down.
So I reprofiled both of them and got them quite sharp. I'm a little worried for my son. I said, Everett, be really careful with this knife because it's pretty sharp.
I traded my Blitz after I got my Pioneer, which was a step up at the time, but I still think my Blitz, I could do so much better with it. I wasn't getting my little swirlies, which now I don't get them because I use tape on the bottom of my edge that I sand through or grind through. But yeah, I love that Blitz system.
So it's a cool little system. I like it. I'll probably give it to Paul for his birthday that's coming up. I bought the cheap Amazon stones and they were fine. It was like $8 for like 7 stones or something.
That's very cheap. Kevin,
what's that? You're going to get what you pay for on those bad boys.
Hey, they did all right. They did all right. I
Carl
mean,
can put
I don't
you
know how
on
many
3
knives they're going to
stones.
sharpen.
Yeah, but how long are they gonna last is the difference.
Yeah, for $7, you can buy a new one every month.
Well,
But
you got to realize, Kyle, he usually goes for his motor.
yeah, this is
No, I
just
understand.
playing
I
around
understand.
in the RV because I was bored, and just to see how the prop system works. And my biggest complaint with the Blitz is just the strength of the jaws holding the blade. You really got to crank them down.
You do,
I
and
know.
if you're limited in the thickness, my buddy A to Z had a he stressed them with the what's the DeVille's from South Africa, Andre
Yeah.
DeVille's, and he shouldn't have put them in there, and he was having to work a lot on a Tanto, so he actually left the knife clamped for like 2 days, which was a huge mistake, and it just
Yeah.
weakened the clamp and broke it. And he had to order other clamps, and he tried to bitch at me, and I was like, dude, you put too thick of a knife in there. Read your manual. It's in the box. But I think the
Manual.
US Prof is a fantastically made system.
The only issue with the Blitz is to me, the mechanism for raising and lowering is kind of backwards. And I think that's partially why after the Pioneer was created, the Blitz is now going bye-bye, and the Pioneer is going to be their entry level.
I agree. Kyle, do you think there's any difference with the type of edge you can get, the difference of a system where the clamps rotate like the Blitz versus a system where the rod rotates and the clamps are fixed? There's no reason that should have any variation, right?
Well, the rod's always technically going to move.
Right. But you know what I'm talking about when you set your angle based on the rod height using your angle gauge versus on a Blitz where you set the angle and the clamps move up and down to adjust your angle. Just, you know what I'm saying? The Blitz, it's the clamps that are moving, where the Pioneer, the clamps fixed, and you're setting your angle off the ramp of the rod.
In theory, it should be the same. I've not tested the accuracy of it. I never owned a Blitz.
Okay. I didn't know if you sharpened on one.
No, I had the first one I had was a Cadet, and then in the KO3. But I've not had the Blitz in hand, so I can't answer that. But I just know that was the weak point as far as part of the convenience factor, more so than the accuracy of it.
Right.
So I think that was, they were trying to go more uniform across the board. Like the Cadet and the Pioneer are similar as far as how they move up and down.
Just different grades of features.
Okay, I lied. It's the Ruxin, and it was
okay.
It was $20 for a 100, 200, 500, 800, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000.
Wow.
Are they plates? Are they?
They're plates, but they're mounted on plastic rather than aluminum, and they're maybe 15% thinner. They're 6 inches, but they're maybe 15% thinner than the TS Prof ones.
So they're like 2.5 mils.
Now, interestingly enough, TS Prof contacted me about being an affiliate to offer the sharpening systems with, a blade purchase.
Make you a dealer of sorts?
Yeah.
Are these them, Gary?
Not really a dealer because they're only given 7 points.
Right.
It's more of an affiliate.
Are those the stones?
Mine were plated diamond.
Okay. Because I bought a tripod today I didn't need. Is it this right here?
Yeah, right there. That's what I got.
$20.89?
They weren't bad. I mean, for what they were.
Yeah, you can't get one of the 3 stones that I would recommend. I would recommend a coarse Poltava, and let Kyle tell you the specifics, and then 2 progressions of alpha stones for a total of 3 stones. But that's going to cost you close to $300.
Man, yeah.
But you'll never need to replace them, probably.
So I have the Cadet Pro, and I just wanted to experiment with the
Blitz.
The Blitz.
I will say the one true gripe I have is with the affiliate link process is it's only for new purchases. So like if someone goes on there and buys a set of clamps and they create an account, you get credit for those clamps, and they go buy back and buy a new system, an upgraded system. You don't get credit for that. You only get credit for the first purchase.
Yeah, you know, I'm just like,
which to me, it's not an affiliate link. That's just a like referral on your first purchase. That's not a.
They're going to give me a free system, which is probably worth more than any of their
commissions that you get.
Commissions. Yep.
So, but it depends which system. I'm going to say I already have a Cadet.
Ask them for the K system, their nicest one. You can't hurt by going up there. The Maroni 35.
Give me a K3 and I'll do a YouTube video.
Just tell them. I think by you being able to recommend it, if you like it, you could do the video just to see if you like it. And if you like it, if you recommend it, I'm sure people would buy that system on your recommendation because your knives are so sharp. Quick man hug.
It's pretty idiot proof, you know, like.
I would say so, but I'm an idiot and I keep getting swirls unless I put tape on the bottom and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you follow guidelines, it's pretty simple to get what I would call a decent edge. But if you want to get really good at it, there are definitely some quirks and some idiosyncrasies to learn as far as how to maneuver around some of the, I wouldn't call them obstacles, but just how the actual system works. You can definitely get better than what is just in the manual.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the manual. Like, I'm one of those guys. Like, I just want to get in there and figure it out. And you know, at the end of the day, if you're somebody that's an experienced sharpener and you know how to move a stone on a blade, you know, whether it's you holding the knife and moving it on the stone or you moving the stone on the knife, same thing. You know, what I do is I actually do swirls like this.
Ugh, you're giving me palpitations over here.
So I do that to get until I get a burr. And then once I have a burr, then it's a smoother, you know, I want straight lines. You know, and I grind those out. I grind those swirls.
Your swirlies out.
I'll definitely work in one area longer than others. It's not just a constant one motion all the way back and through. So I get that. Just I was giving you crap about the swirls, but yeah,
like I clean it up though after I get, because I'm reprofiling and I just want to remove material.
Right, and the fact that you know when you're doing this, you can adjust bevels as far as height and fixing, you know, your bevels, but some of that takes working in one area longer than others because you're actually having to remove more metal to get it to match up. So that's experience. That's not just going, you can't just get that by going back and forth unless you want to spend 3 hours doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had to work on the tip on the one for quite a bit to get it where it was matching.
My heels and my tips always take longer. And my problem, I think I've self-diagnosed to just not having consistent patience.
Well, but I just like, you know, all the work's on that coarse grit, like just like anything. You know, even like grinding the actual bevel of a blade, it's all the work is on the, you know, all the work is on the coarse grit. And, you know, once I get towards to where I want to be, I don't worry about a lot of the details when I'm hogging off material, but when I get close, then I start paying attention to grind lines.
It's the same as like you said, grinding a knife. You're just getting to the point where you created an even bevel, and then your other stones are just refining it. That's why I always say spend the money, good money, on a coarse stone because it's putting in all the work.
Yeah.
Quick love hug.
It's just
thank you, Bobby.
Wait, we'll back up a second. Gons, you have to send me a knife to consider me your sharpener. Come on, man.
Let him show you what he can do. This is what I was going to tell you about what I found out today browsing the Kaiser portal, but I lost my train of thought. And it ties into you in a kind of 7 separations or degrees of separation, Kyle. So I was looking at some of the new knives that are coming out because they didn't send out June knives because of Blade Show. And one of the ones is a small fixed blade collaboration. Guess with who? I'll give you one guess and I'll tell you.
I don't care.
Somebody I'm a huge fan of.
Jacob.
Yeah. Jacob Ginsburg has got a collaboration coming out with Kaiser. I forget the name of the knife, but it's 5.6 inches, a little guy. His chickadee's 5 inches. I figured Sierra Rick would like to know that information. It doesn't look like a Jacob Creates knife. It's a sheep's foot, but it's a cool looking knife.
Did
that
B Shady would be interested probably.
Yeah, he'd definitely be. I was going to let B Shady know. I sent an email back to them following up because I got the dealer apps and stuff sent this way, and told them the downside of that was I was able to look inside the Coming Soon portal for an hour. One thing I will say about this budget Miguron that I really don't like, I'm a reverse finger flicker guy. This is one, Gary, that's a weird steel that's the same composition as OS 10. I forget what it's called, 19C or something. And it's
OS 10 would be, is that 10C?
Nope, it's something not, it doesn't sound like OS 10. It's got like 2 numbers and a letter, I think. I'd never heard of it before. I'll tell you in just a second.
19C27?
Yeah, is that the same as OS 10? Pretty much, or
I thought OS 10 was closer to 10CR 13.
Well, I was just getting it from.
14, it is.
I asked Chat GPT, so I'm not sure. Let me pull it up real quick. But my point is, a lot of people in the YouTube group were whining about these cheap knives. The clip, I'm trying to get it to turn purple. It hadn't turned purple on me. But what I've noticed, this knife is cool that it's a top button compressed liner lock. And they left a full liner lock below in case you never want to use that button. But if I do a reverse flick, my finger lays right over the button. So if I put the littlest bit of pressure on it, it doesn't lock up. I've got to make sure my finger's not on that button. But I think that's a very original looking knife. And it's super slicey. But allegedly, I don't
like the look of it.
Well, it's got an aluminum handle. It's different. And I forget what Casey's rant about it was. His didn't have good detent or something.
It wasn't a drop point?
No, it wasn't. Mikey Bobby, what's up? Gonzo, what's up? Paul Mills, what's up? He does. And he's got some of the greatest Jacob Creates collection going out there. He's got several Hail Marys, which I've never gotten one of those.
So here's the stone you may have not heard of for it. This is the Creeley Blades PET G carbon fiber stone with no abrasive on it yet.
What are you doing with those?
I don't know. I printed it out and I was thinking maybe I glue some leather on there for stropping or
for your
something
compounds.
Else. Yeah.
Or even I thought about, I forget. Alex Garland had a stone that really performed well in his testing, a diamond stone. And I was contemplating buying, the big diamond stone and then cutting it into as many of these as I could and then gluing them on here.
Ah, so even smarter.
I thought about something like that too.
So at Blade Show, were those balsa wood strops you were handing out with basswood. What's that? Basswood.
Basswood.
Do you like that better than leather, or is it just more cost efficient, or both?
I think it performs better.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it holds the abrasive harder,
and it's less likely to, depending upon pressure, it's less likely to roll as well. You can find the edge a little bit easier. And
that makes sense because you can.
I use oak a lot on mine, Gary.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So here especially on the real fine compounds. So that's a 0.1 micron, and that's on oak, and that is phenomenal.
So the other thing I was thinking about getting for this was getting veneer from Woodcraft in rosewood or something,
and skinning it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then just gluing it on and then trimming it.
You'd have to, depending upon what type of veneer it is, if it's paper backed or if it was adhesive backed, you'd have to worry about the compound getting through.
Well, would
just because that veneer is so thin that if it seeps in, then it could break up that contact.
That bond?
It could.
Do you
just stuff I'm playing with? It's so cheap to buy stuff. So, it's almost.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not worth a shot. I'm thinking in my mind from the woodcraft side of what I have dealt with. The veneers would be awful thin for that.
Kyle, I can't remember. Did you get a chance to try a little thing of stroppy stuff? Or not stroppy stuff. I always say stroppy stuff. The what's it called? Strop and sharp condition. Did you get
Gary stuff? No, not yet. Because I've got so much compound left right now.
Right.
I have not. But once I get some or get to a point where one of them runs out, then I'll try.
I ran out of my stroppy stuff, and I've reconditioned my strop with so much less compound with just the applicator. It's amazing. I like the way it feels on the blade.
Yep. I mean, I'm biased. So,
well, you tried to come up with something that you liked, and you probably used a lot of it. And you've probably gone through a lot of different compounds in your sharpening.
Oh, I used probably everyone that was available, I think.
I'd say the one I did not care for that everyone kind of hyped up for a bit was the Jindy.
Oh yeah.
Jindy?
No, Jend, Jindy.
Oh.
It was not phenomenal. Like I had good luck. I liked Scott's stuff. I thought he made a good product. Until the price just got absolutely ridiculous on it. In the past year and a half to 2 years, it's over doubled in price. It's almost tripled in price.
Not only that, it's the last little bit of it's hard to get. You have to almost get your brush down in there or your finger, and it's just. I think there are better ways to apply it. And
now,
I know
you want to talk about price. I have sharp condition with Scott's. We did a collaboration. I have his abrasive poly diamond, 0.5 micron poly diamond in my suspension in my bottle.
That's probably one I would be interested in trying.
But that's stupid expensive. $65.
It's $65 for a bottle. And that's not an actual picture of it, right? Because it comes in 3 grits. It only comes in 1 grit.
I don't sell it on my website. Like Sharp Supplies have it. Sharpening Supplies has it.
What size is that, Gary? Is that like 30 mil? No, I mean like 30 mil or 15 mil.
I've got one I can.
Okay, an ounce is 30 mils, so that's 15. So like right now, Scott's stuff is like close to $70 for a 30 mil for a full ounce.
Oh, and this will go further because of the dispensing. The way it works, it'll go further. But I sold that for 65 because he wasn't making any more, and it's super expensive grit, and there's a lot of it. There's like 4 carats per bottle of diamond, so it's a fair amount.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Marv, this German scientist who does some crazy expensive stones, and he's done a lot of testing and stuff. And I had probably a 3-hour discussion back and forth with him over, like in constant typing over IG, and super nice guy, very, very knowledgeable on the scientific level. Nerds out way more than anyone I've ever met when it comes to that. I don't necessarily agree with all his findings, but that's more of me using practical use versus him under a lab certified STEM microscope and everything else where he's, saying X, Y, and Z is getting this and that. But he's got some pretty cool, interesting stones, but man, they're like, for the 6-inch stones, like what you're using for the systems, they're like 400 euros for a set of 3. So that's like $500. They're I'm not taking the plunge to try them out and test them. I talked to him about stuff before, but like he had some interesting. Like he was doing some emulsion type of or like I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't necessarily an emulsion, but it was like an emulsion on a copper plate. It's interesting, but I couldn't see the need to splurge and spend that kind of money on them right now when I've got a good setup that I found works for me. Is his stuff maybe better? Yeah, very well potentially could be. It may perform better, but I found what performs well for me, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be a drastic step up to spend that kind of funds on it. But
no, the law of diminishing returns with a lot of this stuff very quickly. You know, the one guy that works for me that sharpens at a couple farmers markets, you know, he's doing a 60 grit, I think 60 or 120 grit ceramic on a 1x30 edge trailing with the belt going down. And then he goes to a paper wheel with green rouge and buffs that, and that's it. Boom.
Yeah, but his price is charging according to that though too. He's not charging the most.
He just raised his price to $1.50 an inch.
Right, but that's kind of what you expect for that price
point. But he does a good job. I mean, it does.
I'm not saying it's not a good edge, but I'm saying, but for that process, that's what
they ever came when they were new.
Right, but that's what you would expect for that price point.
But it's down and dirty.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a product that I was very unhappy with. It was this stuff right here.
But the thing with him is he's a good sharpener, though.
Right.
So even though that's a pretty primitive, it's about fast, is what it's about.
Right. But, I mean, I could go out, slap an edge on my grinder, and it'd be down and dirty, but it's not going to be the same as taking it off a stone.
Right. No. But he's sharpening steels that, you know,
I don't want to waste my stones on.
You don't want to waste your stones on, and they're never going to get it that sharp anyway because they can't get that sharp.
Yeah,
I did not have a good experience with this stuff.
With stroppy stuff?
Not either.
Yeah, I didn't have a good. Maybe it's not it. Maybe it's the one I
love the stroppy stuff.
Is that the stuff I got from Jared?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. For mine, it didn't dispense, and maybe it just settled too much. I don't know because
they've got a pump. And they've also got the aerosol type.
Only got the aerosols, all they had in stock. That's the one I had to email back like 3 times.
I've had phenomenal luck with stroppy stuff.
I like the gunny better than the stroppy, and I like the.
If you like stroppy stuff, you're really gonna like my stuff.
You really will, Kyle. As a matter of fact, I don't mind sending you the half bottle I've got left.
Well, so the one thing, like, I know I saw Gons and Todd talking about microns and stuff. So here's the I'll give you the kind of synopsis. There's 2 main things to be good at sharpening. 1, being able to raise a burr, and 2, being able to get it off of there. Right? That's as simplistic as you can get. Getting the burr is not hard. Find that. But when you're going to stropping, you will get much better results if you get to the point where your burr is as small as possible with the stone before you go to a strop. Honing and minimizing that burr on a stone before you go to a strop will 100% get you better results because it's not ripping the teeth off of that. You maintain that bite. If you get good at that honing process and deburring, you can take it to a low grit and maintain ultimate sharpness with still keeping your tooth on there. If you start taking it through a progression of strops, you're going to lose that bite because you're ripping the edge of it off. So get good at deburring and honing on the stone before you get to your strop.
Because Kyle, am I wrong that you like
even on my machines, like I bear into it, raise that burr, then flip it once, twice, 3 times with light pressure for a couple reasons. One is to make the burr smaller, but with my compound on like a leather wheel or a felt wheel, it's going to tear off whatever burr you get on there and make it sharp. It won't hardly matter. But that aside, when I cut out my blades, and a lot of people are cutting out their blades with laser, there is compromised steel on the perimeter of that knife. And I want to make sure I've sharpened through it. And so that's
the difference too, though. You're also doing that when you're flipping your burr back and forth. It's also on a much higher grit. It's not a coarse grit stone.
It's been a 400, but it's got about to be a 100. But one of the cool things with the resin bonded wheels, even more than a plate, I found is they tend to behave like higher grits than what they are, for one. And for two, I found with the same grit stone, you can get very different results with pressure.
Yep.
And so, like, if I'm bearing in and getting those 100 grit scratches, well, they're not even like 100 grit. They're like 400 grit because the resin wheel just isn't as aggressive as a plate. And then if I go to a light pass, now it's like a 600 grit. And then buff
it. Smooth it out just by that pressure.
And also too, if I had to guess, most resin bonded or most of those are probably going to be FIPA rated too, so it's going to be higher anyways. It's probably not a JIS grit.
That could be.
The weird thing is, like, it's so much easier if everyone would just label it based off of microns, because microns are microns across the board. Like, that would be the simplest way to do it. It's like, having the imperial versus metric argument. Like, there's different ratings for different things, and yeah, you can calculate and convert them, but if you just had one, if you based off a micron, then it's universal. But you have, the JIS, you have grit ratings, you got micron ratings, you have the FIPA ratings, there's like 6 or 7 different types across the board,
and they don't carry over from company to company.
But there are 2 large manufacturers of diamonds and CBNs out of Europe, and that's where a lot of the abrasives come from. And they're all based off of FIPA ratings, F ratings. So an F400 is like, technically, according to US grit rating, that'd be like 1086, so 1086.
I am getting tempted to make some of my own stones. I have a good source for grit. My grit in my emulsions is a domestically produced grit.
Damn it, Drew.
Well, better toothy than no toothy. Well, never mind.
Depends on what you're looking for.
I didn't say it. So that same grit could go into. I do know a guy that is making some of his own stones, and they're a fair price too. He's selling for $100. They're resin bonded. Like bench stone.
Yeah.
I would want a vitrified stone though, I think.
And that's where I was getting ready to say, so the expense comes into not just the quality of the abrasive, the quality of the diamond to see, your cubic boron makes a difference, but it's also in the binder. The binder, whatever you're using to adhere or keep those together, will make a large difference in not only the finish, but the cutting, and the cost is a significant difference in bond.
It is, but I am guessing, and I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but I have a fair number of buying chemicals and different stuff for stuff. I suspect that the expense is still predominantly the diamond grit, not the bond, not the agent. It's going to be smaller.
So, like, from my understanding, like the vitrified process, that binder is much different than using like a PSB1 or a entry level.
The whole process and the material, right? You're dealing with how you make it.
Well, it's a ceramic, and it's going to be kiln fired. And then, of course, you're getting some cutting action out of the ceramic as well as the diamond that's in it.
And
the weird thing, too, is so if you start digging into like the specs on a lot of these stones, there are some that they'll list the coverage rating. So like some will be 25%, some will be 50%. Some claim they're 100% coverage.
And that's exposed diamonds over the surface?
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that's a little bit optimistic, but there definitely are levels to abrasives.
I'm just reading Black & Decker Pecker Wrecker.
Good old Todd.
Hey, Gary.
Yes.
Did you say the 0.5 is used for mirror edges? Did I hear you say that's why it's
one will get you a mirror, but that 0.5 poly emulsion will get you a deeper mirror.
But you wouldn't want just the poly if you were looking for regular stropping, right? Is a poly overkill?
No,
okay.
That's for the people that want to get really fancy.
Well, see, here's I'm going to nerd out on you on something too. So, in this, I came up with this theory a while back, and then coincide, I found there was a study done in Europe by a guy with a STEM microscope and going through the process. So, going back to what I was saying earlier about the removal of the burr process, I go from whatever my last stone is, and I'll deburr on stones and get that burr as minimized as I can possibly on stones before I go to a strop. If I'm good on the stone, I can skip all of the other grits or other microns of compound, and I'll go straight to either a 1, 0.5, or depending upon what my last stone was, even a 0.1. And that will maintain the bite because you've got that burr so small, there's less of it. Because a burr comes out and it's like this on your apex, right? Well, if that burr is large, it's like this. And if you take it to a strop with compound on it, the potential, I'm exaggerating, obviously, the potential is to rip that burr off to the point where it's fractured. If you get it to the point where it's minimized so much on a stone, you get to this point and you go to a fine grit, it literally just takes it right to that apex and maintains that without ripping off your the burr completely to the point where you have a damaged edge under a microscope. So like taking a whatever, say you're taking you finished at 400 grit on a knife, and you take it to a 6 micron, it's actually duller by doing that than it is to take that to 400, deburr, and then take to a 1 micron.
One of the things,
smoothing more than you are ripping.
When you add a motor to that and you add a guide to that, I mean, it's already guided with that, the system with the prop. But when you take the motor to that, it's almost like you have a 4,000 or 8,000 grit grinding wheel.
Just by the pressures you can
deduce. And I don't even put a lot of pressure on the because I don't want to roll over it. It coming off there, it'll tear off. It's basically, it's not only, but it's almost still grinding, but just at a really, really fine level. And it'll pull off a burr and refine it, and I can go back and forth on my buffing wheel. It's a leather wheel, and really refine that edge, but not roll over into it because it's still guided like the grinder was. It behaves differently. I do enjoy stropping just on a strop or by hand, but man, when you add some RPMs to that,
it makes it much more.
The game changes.
Well, I just was trying to kind of demystify that whole. For a long time, people were saying, no matter what your edge is, 6 microns still lower, or 9 microns still lower than what your.
That's what I started.
You finished on, so just get that and strop with that. Well, you're actually losing toothiness by going to that. Be better off deburring on and honing on the stone than going to a lower micron.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm interested in coming off a pretty coarse stone and then going to the micron emulsions.
to see, in my head, and I need a better like microscope or something, but in my head, I have teeth that I'm then sharpening with the emulsion. So
yeah, what I do with that, Gary, like I've got some where I'll stop, like if it's a quote unquote working edge, I'll stop at F240, which is like a 400 grit US, right? I'll deburr on that, and then I'll step up one more and deburr on, say, a F400, right? Just a finer grit to even refine that more. And then I'll go to whatever strop I'm using, whether it's 1 micron or 0.5, or sometimes I'll even do a 3, depending upon what the steel is. And that will get me a laser sharp edge that'll slice through, do swirlies and paper and whatever else you want, but also has enough bite to get into material. You don't lose the bite by doing that. A lot of times, if you start going to that, say you stop at 400 grit and then you go to a higher grit or higher micron strop, like a 9 micron, you can actually dull it because you're ripping off those teeth.
Hey, B Shady, I see you're in the house, and I got some insider information today. I don't know if you heard me talking about it, from a potential new Kaiser dealer. And looking through the dealer portal, guess who's got a fixed blade collaboration coming out with Kaiser in the next month or two? I'll give you a hint. It's about 5.5 inches. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and I'm going to blurt it because I have no patience for you.
We got about 15 minutes till satisfaction, and I'm getting a little shaky. I need to get something to eat.
Jump out, buddy. You bail out.
I'm going to hop out. I'm going to show you one last thing before I leave. This is one of the 2026 purchases that I've got.
Make you big. I love what you've done with that.
Nice.
Very nice. Whose clip's that? Is that a Lynch?
Nope.
Rips?
Nope. Met and Boss as well.
Nice. Because it matches the scale.
Is that some manner of PM2?
Yep. PM2, Tanto M4.
Ooh. You got your
one
lanyard stopper in there, standing proud. I love the way you match your hardware and your clip. Did you anno those yourself?
Actually, this is before I had my anno set up. This is Backpack B did those.
Ooh, I love it.
With scales are Zerk, and the lanyard tube is Zerk.
Gorgeous. Be shady. It's Jacob Ginsburg. Since you didn't answer me, it's got.
All right, gentlemen. I'm gonna hop out.
Take care, brother. I'll see you over at Stevie in a bit.
All right, later.
We're about to get out of here. So I knew you'd want to know that, buddy. It'll be a cool little knife. Jacob's the one. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Gary, but the knife that I fell in love with was a Chickadee. It's a little 5-inch.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
He's since done a Hail Mary, which is a little bigger. But this is the knife that turned me into a fixed blade guy. And I've got 3 of them. I've got a 20 CV. My first one was MagnaCut that Kyle sharpened that I bought secondhand. And then I've got one of his first ones, which is an S90 full flat. But his Kaiser collaboration looks nothing like this. It's a little bit longer and it's a sheep's foot. But I just think it's cool that I'm surprised he went that route to do a collaboration licensing. I know a lot of makers like Dwyer who did a collaboration with North Mountain Blades. I don't know why, he licensed. I guess it's a licensing deal where he didn't put up any money. He just gets a percentage from his design. Be shady. Your poster's still awesome, dude. You have some of the best. We were looking at them earlier tonight. You'll get back into it. And when you start dumping your stuff because you really decided you hate it, call me. You've got the coolest. I'm going to pull it up real quick before we go. I'm going to give B Shady some love. All I have to type is a B and he comes up. But his pictures are the ones I was showing y'all earlier. But it's this collection. I'll show you Jacob's Hail Mary. His this knife right here. In the middle, that purple handled knife. The fixed blade. That's one of Jacob's bigger knives. And he does that in a bunch of different blade shapes. Let me get another picture of another one. And those are hard to get because he just does drops. But so that top one is a Tonto Hail Mary, if I'm not mistaken. Not a big knife, probably 6 inches, maybe a little over.
Okay.
But and he used to do it in his shed. I recognize that. He used to do it in the shed, but now he's he did his cryogenics and everything in there. Now he's doing it at Millet, and that's one of his with his grind. That's a Hail Mary Warncliffe.
I might be working with Millet here in the future.
I think they do a good job. I don't think he's had any, and B Shady could speak up to it, but I don't think he's had any quality drop. If anything, just the opposite.
Yeah, I had a good talk with him. I just realized while I was on vacation, I did not send them my plans, so I got to send them the plans. I do not know why I didn't do that.
You were busy? You were busy.
Got a lot of irons in the fire. I got to do my video on this Taylor Hardness guy.
Well, I'm going to start following that, and I'll be in there commenting. I will
There's
definitely
like 30 back and forths on the one about the Montana knife.
Well, what I was going to tell you, the funniest thing, you know, my favorite, I think he's very highly evolved, but he doesn't come across that way, is my buddy Shane, Edgy American Blaze.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he used to poke the bear, and there was a post. There was trivial, but anyway, he got Metal Complex involved. The big YouTuber. Shane has 2,000 subs. Metal Complex has what? 700,000. 22 back and forth where Metal Complex totally engaged with him in his post. And all Shane was pointing out is the argument, the tree you're shaking is not what this post is about. And he kept coming back, showing that it got really made him feel for him to spend that much energy in the chat going back and forth. But he believes, you know, he's very stuck in his ways if he thinks he's right. And the thing was, he was not right because he was arguing something that happened in a post in a live stream, tying it to an Instagram post. So it was just, there's more to it.
This guy kept trying to change the subject. Like, he's like, you know, what's your education? And then then it was like, oh, so you think you should run MagnaCut at 61? No, I didn't say that.
Not at all.
Didn't say any of that.
You said it's not junk. It's not a junk heat treat.
You know, this guy's an idiot.
That's when they resort to name calling. You know enough about life and people that if they don't have a substantive argument to come back and try to debate you on, they retreat into that name calling or that diminishing you. And you don't even have the right to question.
I was like, you know, I'm going to be heat treating 700 MagnaCut and Magnamax blades next week.
And you do this on a regular basis. It won't be your first 700.
It is not my first 700. And so it's just like, you know, I'm not making this up. You know,
no.
I'm not just.
And you didn't come at him
on somebody else's post.
And you did not troll him. You came at him with a valid.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah. It's just, and that's what's funny when you run, and that's what's going to be somebody like that's undoing. I mean, I'll have a few fans to hold them up, but then you're not doing a service if a lot of people have written you off because of the way you address criticism. Anytime you get on the internet, people, newsflash, you're going to get criticism. Most of it's well-deserved. I know to me it is when I get it.
And it wasn't really even, it was just to say, you know, everybody's like, you're doing God's work. You're doing such a service. I'm just saying, maybe not always.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's more
to one data point, and you could be calling. This could be a great heat treat at 61. They just choose for warranty purposes or toughness purposes that they wanted to run it at 61. It's not terrible at 61. Now, there were some of their fixed blades that were down at 58. So
that's a different story. But what your point is very valid. You reach out to somebody and you find out what the methodology was. I got into that argument with Hinder's heat treats a long time ago. Maybe it was on MagnaCut. Maybe it was on something else. It was when my buddy Transparent Knives and Rick got into a big issue that went legal. And I didn't necessarily agree. I think Rick's was not looking for edge retention in his knife. He was looking for the toughness. He was a fireman that makes big, bulky knives. So it makes sense that he's not going to go for the optimal heat treat for hardness if he's looking for toughness in his knives, right?
Right. And there's a trade-off.
And I think he made that calculated risk. And a lot of those guys, not knowing MagnaCut, didn't want to run it. And it's the same with S90. I know these designers that work with these Chinese OEMs, they won't run it over a certain number, 60 or 61, and continue to warranty it.
They don't want to grind it.
And they won't warranty it. Is their comeback.
They don't want to grind it.
Sure.
Either. Because it's harder to grind when it's harder.
Yeah.
So, like, we're having a heck of a time with Magnamax at 64, just surface grinding it and all the stuff. It just behaves differently. It's a chore.
Is it a 3 times? Are you seeing about that extra time per knife, or can you quantify?
3 times, but it's more like how quickly it's going through the belts.
Right.
Like it's just eating ceramic belts. I need to use the best quality ceramic belts.
How many knives would that stretch out to? 5 knives or even that?
Well, so with the with the Folklore, for instance, we grind the Scandi grind on it, but we don't grind the flats until after the Scandi grind is done. So they come back with a finished Scandi grind. Then we clean off the mill scale and everything from the flats on both sides. And whereas maybe we got, 9 blades out of a belt, now we might be getting 6 or.
Okay, so it's not night and day. It's
not night and day, but it's noticeable.
Yeah, and you'll have to figure out probably that consumable cost.
And the cheap belts don't put a consistent enough finish because they get the steel gets glazed.
Right.
The belts aren't sharp enough. It's really a tricky steel to work with. It's cool. I like it. That's
because you're up to a challenge.
Yeah, we're and I think we're able to keep them in stock because they're kind of expensive. Like the Folklore's $435 in Magnamax. So
right.
That's a look, but that's a big chunk of Magnamax. I mean, that's
and for the person that understands, it's very much worth that for what you're going to gain in retention and in use. I mean, it's every bit worth the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
People have to realize it.
It is. It's pretty cool.
Kathleen, I'm not aware about that. There very well could be. I will look into it and try to have some information. I've got a good buddy at Knives and More who's very tied in with the guys over there at Strider Knives. But guys, it's time for Said Stevie. Gary, you got any parting words, any promotions, anything people can be looking for over on your site? We got a question.
Not too much. We're just dropping blades.
We got a question for you.
So K390, it's much harder to work than K390. Probably in the neighborhood of S90V. I have not processed a lot of S90V. I've made a few knives in it, so I can't say. But if I were guessing, I would say similar. Similar to that would be my guess. I have ground some S90V. Honestly, I find S90V harder to grind than like Rex 121.
Really? Is that the belts you use, or is that just the facts of the geometry when it meets your belts?
There's a stubbornness that comes along with the chromium content, where it doesn't cut as cleanly. Gotcha. And so it's a little more resistant to the belt.
On a real hayseed level, I learned that from a case old timer. He was telling me the difference in carbon steels and the carbide sizes of that old 1095 versus the new steel that they use, and they're stainless. That's why stainless is so much harder to sharpen from case.
The new steel, they mean the 420 that was made in
yes, they call it new because they were buying it back when all you could get was the 90 or whatever 1095. But I think it made some sense because I picked up. I think I showed you guys. I had to get another cheetah cub because we had our tool steel come in, and I've never I've had GECs that were, and you have to put your own edge on these anyway. And this carbon steel sharpens so much sharper, quicker. Like I say, 10 passes on the fine, and I was good. But guys, I'll let y'all get over to Said Stevie. I appreciate everybody. Gary, I always appreciate your input, and Kyle's.
Yeah.
Y'all educate me. But everybody, have a great night. I'll see you over there. I'm going to be putting pills in my dad's pill dispenser for the next 2 weeks, so I won't be chatting. If I'm still awake in an hour, I'll chat with you guys then. But look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart and choose debate, not hate. I love you guys. Peace.
Lights go dark, the stream comes on. Javon's here, the